Hold on, I gotta get my mic right. Hold up. Y'all know what we do. Y'all know what we do. And our mic is right. Let me attach this thing. Grand rising to all. Grand rising to all. We got a great show for y'all today. Appreciate y'all tapping in. We obviously started about 15 minutes later than normal. Just wanted to push back, give ourselves a little bit of time. We just drove up, got in last night from an amazing weekend down at Hampton, Sydney. Maybe we'll touch on a little bit of that today. If not, then you will definitely be seeing a lot of updates over the next couple weeks. And I'm very excited. As you can see, it's going to be one of those juicy topics today. And it's funny because as I'm coming up with these, or with the team, as we're coming up with a lot of these topics, it seems to always fall on Israel or something involving Israel. And a lot of times I ask myself, am I picking on Israel? Am I beating this topic to death? Am I beating the dead horse? All these different things. But that's what's relevant. And we're going to talk about it. And I think a lot of times if we have that mindset, we can easily avoid certain topics that are necessary to talk about. And the people that are violating, as I would point out, we don't want to give them an out, thinking that we can't cover something on a consistent basis because they are being very consistent in their actions. So we're going to match that energy. Let me get to some of these comments. We got a critical thinking in the building. What's up? Man, I feel old at 55, running 6 miles every day, starting to feel like a chore. Whoa. Critical thinking, you 55 running 6 miles a day? That's getting to it. I just saw somebody that had 100 miles for the month. Let me see if I could do that math. I should be able to easily multiply 3 times 6, 6, 12, 18. Whoa. No, that can't be right. 6 miles a day, 180. 6 miles times 30. Yeah. 180 miles for the month. Bro, you don't need to be feeling old at all. I don't care if you're walking 6 miles a day. That's a solid workout. I say that because I get up early for my run today so I can catch the show. All right, you just inspired me to do something that I need. I've been talking about it for a while, and I keep giving myself excuses. Critical thinking. From now on, I'm doing my runs in the AM before the shows. I'm committed to it. All right, let's keep going. Who we got in the building? Maya's in the building. Shout out to Bub in the building. Well, I used to run 30 miles a week. At my age, is now down to 18. Oh, man. Well, you don't do 6 miles every day. Either way, man, let me amp you up. Shout out to Fashion City Metaverse. Thank you for sharing. Informative, free humanity, free Palestine. Yeah, I think it's important to have these combos. I think it's very important to have these combos. And you know what's funny about all this? This is not only just a free Palestine, but in my mind, and y'all can call me crazy for this, but this is also to free Israel. I look at Israel as being captured in a different way. When you have this mindset, it's almost like racism. Racism does not only impact the people that it's holding down or oppressing, but it also impacts the people that are doing the damage. Slavery not only impacts the people that are enslaved, but it also impacts the people who are doing the enslaving. When you're putting out negative energy, when you're doing something that is evil and corrupt in this world, let's not be fooled as if that's not taking a negative toll on your life and that you're not going to one day have to be held accountable for that. So I want to be very clear. And I think in a lot of these conversations, when we talk about Palestine and Israel, we say it from time to time, but I want to figure out a way to come to Israel's aid and let them know you're bugging. You can't do things like this. You can't run around and act as if you're in defense mode and go on the offensive like this with preemptive strikes and a war and killing large amounts of people just because you want more land, just because you're only seeing the world through your perspective. Like, this is to free Israel as well. We're freeing Palestine from a lot of the oppression, the destruction, the evil acts, the killing, all those things. And we're freeing Israel from this mindset that in my mind is holding them back from reaching their highest potential as godly beings. So it's freeing both. And I want to be very clear on that. Shout out to big bro Steve in the building. Shout out to my guy Steve in the building, man. Oh my God. It wouldn't even do justice to tell y'all how much of an amazing weekend we had down at Hampton, Sydney. And if you hear somebody blowing their nose in the background, it's very rude, but we're going to ignore that. Shout out to Steve in the building. Steve and Professor, shout out to Dr. King. They really provided an amazing weekend for my family, being my brother Brian, Jean-Pierre, my parents came down, Maya came down, and it was an amazing experience to be able to work with a lot of the Hampton, Sydney young men and see how they're developing our next generation of leaders down there. And then we got to spend some time off grid. This was probably my first experience off grid, and we had an amazing time. And you get to see all the benefits of being out the way and more so with nature rather than all y'all humans. But let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Shout out to you, big bro. Thank you. It's the Mexican guy in the chat checking in. Shout out to the Mexican guy in the chat checking in. Make sure y'all show him love. Be nice to see him have as a guest on sometime. If you're talking about Steve, then you hold on. I don't even know who that was. Oh, Critical Thinking wrote that so long ago. So I don't think that you're talking about Steve, but I'm going to bring it to Steve. We definitely will begin having some guests, bringing some of y'all from the chat, having y'all tap in, get on video, because I want to hear y'all perspectives. And to be totally honest, a lot of times in these conversations, or I'm so blessed, I should say, to be around a lot of people that have very clear, a very clear conscience, a great moral compass, principles, all these things that we talk about all the time that we're led by. I just give credit to my surrounding support system in a lot of ways. You know, these are the people that are shaping how I see the world. You know, a lot of times we shape how we see the world through our experiences. And sometimes you can have negative experiences and see the world through that lens. But I've been very privileged and very fortunate to be around some amazing people, diverse people. And that is why I'm 100% convinced that us living in peace and humanity and achieving this greater peace is not only realistic, but it's something that we're going to get to. I'm confident that we'll get to it. So that's how I'm looking at it. Maya wrote, "Hey Steve, amazing weekend. Thanks to you all." All right, let me try to shout out to y'all. Keep the chat going. Keep the chat going. I'm gonna try to make sure that I tap in and call out as much as y'all as I can. We got my other big bro, Honest, in the building. Good morning, black guy in the corner. Shout out to Bible Camp Victim. All right, let's get to it. I see Skeeg in the building as well. I got to shout out as many of y'all as I can. Johnny Stoffel, Jeremy Data. Shout out to all from the white guy in the chat. Jeremy Data wrote, "We will be the next Palestinians." Explain how so? Explain how so. Do you have an X link? Yes, we have an X link as well. And I posted it on X before we got on the show. I posted it on X. I posted it on my story. I posted it on the OG Network story. So, and of course, I didn't even see, hold up, I didn't even see the big homie Unc in the building. I used to do 5 miles a day. Now, according to my watch, I don't get above 3. So that means it sounds like we need to have an OG Network Steps Challenge. It sounds like we need to have an OG Network Steps Challenge. So maybe we'll figure that out. Maybe we can commit to, I think a good starting commitment will be 6,500 steps a day. Maybe we could do like 65, 7,000. I'll let y'all decide. iRock's boyfriend's here. iRock boyfriend here. Keep up the good work, man. iRock, shout out to iRock and shout out to iRock's boyfriend. You have to be an amazing man because iRock is amazing, and I know she wouldn't settle for anything less. So we're gonna keep it going. Got Big Cuz, Big Country in the building. Shout out to BK. You want mic up? He's scared. He don't want mic up. Silver sister, thank you so much. Good morning, sister. Thank you for the good morning, brother. Thank you for the super chat. We definitely appreciate it. All right, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Silver sister, when I see the super chat come in, that means it's time to get to it. That means it's time to get to it. And Johnny wrote, real talk, OG. I get enough exercise pushing my luck. I get enough exercise pushing my luck. That's a good one. I guess you and me both. You and me both. All right, so this is what I want to start off talking to y'all about. I want to start off very quickly. All right, so I'm going to give y'all not a Tucker Carlson monologue, not anything like that. I shouldn't even have used that, but I just want to share some takeaways that I had over the weekend and the end of last week, just working with some young men, some inspiring young men. And I want to have a little bit of a discussion about that. Then we're going to get into Josh Hammer. He had some things to say about Nick Fuentes regarding where Nick Fuentes would be leading a lot of our young men and women. Mostly our young men. And then we have to address this Van Jones joke. You know, a lot of people are upset with Van Jones for making a joke on Bill Maher. And I almost feel like we're missing the boat when it comes to Flotilla. Nah, we're missing the boat when it comes to what actually is the problem with what he did, or what I think is the actual problem. Who knows if that's the actual problem, but I'm kind of seeing it a bit differently, or maybe I'm not, but I'm going to ask y'all because it seems like people are upset about one thing while I'm sitting over here saying like, well, why be upset about that? What do you need? We'll get into that. Then we have this Tucker Carlson monologue that I think is very necessary for us to tap into. We're going to go through that. We're going to watch a few different videos on Israel seizing Flotilla. Is it flotilla or flotilla? I guess depending. Sorry, I got the sniffles. I guess depending on what language we're tapping into. So we'll say flotilla for now. And yeah, like I said, we got a good show for y'all. So let's get into some of these takeaways. And y'all keep the chat going, keep the chat buzzing while I'm talking. Let me get my notes. Do I need my notes? And I got my assistant over here. She's sending me. She said my partner, work partner. I don't like that word relationship wise, but yeah. All right. Our children can either be inspired to save the world, or they can lazily rest on the comfort created by the generations before them. One more time. Our children can either be inspired to save the world, to elevate the world, to push it in a new direction, to fulfill our godly potential, or they can lazily rest on the comfort created by the generations before them. That was my takeaway from us going down to Hampton-Sydney College and working with some amazing group of young men, both students and some student athletes. And I think we need to be very careful with what we choose or how we choose to lead them in one direction or another. Now let's dig into what I said. The first part, our children can either be inspired to save the world. People react when their backs are against the wall. People react when they're pushed into a corner. Now, how they react, some people, it's like fight or flight, right? I think we have to be very careful with who we allow to lead our kids and who we allow to be the heroes of our generations, because those are going to be the people that end up leading our kids one way or another. It could be somebody leading them in a positive direction or in a negative direction. But if we don't take on that heroic role and responsibility, then somebody else is definitely gonna. So when we're going through life, not fully committed to anything, half stepping, feeling like we're just looking for some type of comfort, that's not the mindset of a hero. That's not the mindset of anybody that we grow up looking at cartoons, looking at our favorite superhero shows. That's not the mindset or the type of person, I should say, that we're going to be excited about to follow. And I think this generation, which we've called many times this bare minimum generation, we like to focus on the kids. We like to say that the kids are lazy, the kids are uninspired, the kids are not motivated. But in all actuality, who does the motivating and inspiring of kids? If you don't present them with a superhero, if you don't present them with a challenge, if you don't present them with somebody that's fighting for something that is aligned with the greater good, rather than simply just putting food on the table, then what are they going to look up to? If they don't see the people that they're living with, if they don't turn on their TV and see people that are fighting for a cause, a righteous cause, who's going to lead them? The most radical people, the people that are excited, the people that have the most influence, when we look on social media, when we look on TV, are those the people that are leading our kids in a positive direction or a negative direction? And now I think a lot of us will say, oh, in a negative, you can know most of the influences, when you look at culture, when you look at a lot of the people, celebrities that are given attention, it's for negative things. Think about some of the most popular celebrities, whether it's Kim Kardashian, whether it's Cardi B, Diddy, whether it's all these different people. Why are these our leaders? Why are our kids looking up to this group of people, of these entertainers? I don't even know if you can call Kim Kardashian an entertainer, or if it's even, or if we have to be very specific with how she got her start and what type of entertaining she was doing that led to this big, amazing empire that she's created. And my point is that if we, as the common folk, the regular people, if we don't take on a superhero role and embrace fighting something worth fighting against, then our kids are going to be uninspired and unmotivated. They're going to rest on all the comfort that we created. It's very hard, in my opinion, to embrace things that are hard, doing things that are hard when times are so easy, when it is so easy to just sit back, be unmotivated, not have to see the world, where I can still have a okay life, even if I don't push myself, even if I don't commit 100% to something. And when kids see that in their parents, in their uncles, in their teachers, in anybody else, they're not going to wake up excited every day. They're always going to look at the glass half empty, the glass empty. Their glass could be 95% full compared to the generations before them, and they're moving as if they're only looking at the 5%. But who wants to embrace that superhero role? We all hear the saying all the time. We say it over and over. Hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times. One of the key takeaways that we talked about over our time with the kids was urgency. How do we create urgency within ourselves? How do we want to learn about the things that are going on in this world, rather than just the things that entertain us? When are we going to step outside of our normal box of how we consume news, how we live life, what our goals are? Are our goals just to get by, to just retire? Are we really putting in all this time in life to just sit back and retire and still not be able to live the life that we want to live? At what point does this light bulb go off in our head? When are we going to have this epiphany that life is always supposed to be a struggle? It's always supposed to be challenging. It's always supposed to be hard. That's what makes it so amazing, when we lean into it and can accomplish things on the other end, and we don't have to go about it by ourselves. It's not just about chasing money. Lean into chasing a purpose. On one end, we say, okay, we have the comfort, so that creates the laziness, right? We don't have anything that we can, that can challenge us, that we're excited about. And then on the other end, when we talk about this greater peace of let's work towards achieving this greater peace, how humanity can live in harmony, we look at that as, oh, well, that's so far-fetched. I'm not even going to work towards that. Which one is it? Do we embrace what's too easy? Do we not embrace what's too hard? Like, which one is it? And we do not realize how selfish of a mindset, as lazy as we are, as accepting as we are, If we don't push ourselves, then it's very selfish because the next generation is going to feed off of that, and that's what they're going to be led by. And perhaps that's why dynasties fall. Perhaps that's why life tends to go up and down. Perhaps why what I just said about hard times and easy times and weak men, perhaps that's why that is true. Because during hard times, there's a certain level of urgency that people, for whatever reason, during easy times are not able to tap in. And that's because we allow the bar to be set where the bar is, and we don't realize that we have to continue to raise it. Every generation, let's become better. Every generation, let's get closer to our godly versions of ourselves. Do we embrace that, or do we just allow ourselves to fall victim to the comfort that the previous generations have created? That was my takeaway. How can we blame a younger generation? How can we see, and I'll be totally honest with y'all, you can see it in different types of kids. When you talk to certain types of kids, and it's so inspiring, not only to you, but you realize the impact that you have on these kids, where all they need is one or two people in their corner to make them think that they can accomplish anything in this world. Let me not even say that, to let them know that they can accomplish anything in this world. All they need is one or two people in their corner. All they need is to see somebody that they love and care about struggling for something greater than them, and that's something that they want to take on. That is what all the superhero shows teach us. Even when our superheroes lose, we can look at it and embrace the courage that they had to have, not only in addressing the problem, but also in how they reacted, how they rebounded. What was their comeback story? Are we providing that to our next generation? Do we take that on as a responsibility? When we say that, oh, we want to just make life a little bit easier for our kids, we don't want them to go through the struggles and the challenges that we went through, isn't that a bit selfish? Now, we can say we don't want them to make the same mistakes, but I want them to, you're right. Matter of fact, you're right. I don't want them to go through the same challenges. I want them to go through greater challenges. I want the next generation to go through greater challenges, because overcoming greater challenges is what gives you greater results. We have a backwards mindset. We want our kids to go through, to have an easier life. What do we think that's going to create? So when you can see the difference in kids, and you learn about their background, and you learn about their support system, and you learn about what makes them tick, a lot of that is just based on their parents and the people that they see as leaders, whether they're in their community, whether in their family, or whether in culture. So do we accept that responsibility? We don't think that when you see somebody working hard, busting their ass, working out, taking care of what they need to take care of, we don't think that that inspires us to know that we can do the same, to hold ourselves accountable, to at least not give us the excuse that, oh, well, I can't do this, or I don't need to do this. It's not important. When are we going to get back to just embrace? I mean, I can't even say get back to it, but just embracing hard work because it's hard. Just because it's a tough challenge. It is the most amazing thing on one hand when you sit down and talk to an inspired kid that, regardless of them not understanding the world maybe the way that we understand it because we have more experience, but they know in their mind, you see a sparkle in their eyes that they truly know that they can accomplish anything in this world that they set their mind to. You can say it's ignorance. You can call it naive. Well, I hope that I remain in this ignorant and naive state for the rest of my life. I don't ever want to accept the reality that I can't do anything in this world. I do not want to ever embrace anything like that. So you have that on one end. Then on the other end, you have kids that wake up in a situation that so many kids around the world, so many adults around the world would do anything to trade places with them. in that exact moment. Just like a lot of us are sitting here right now, wherever we are, there's people around the world that would do any and everything to trade places and to live a life 1% of the life that we live. And we still wake up mad, we still wake up miserable, we still wake up late, we still sleep throughout the whole day, we still move around as if we're not trying to accomplish anything. The nerve of us, the audacity. That's the mindset that comfort has created within us. And that's the selfishness that we're going to pass on to the next generation, to where they are in an opportunity, or they are in a situation, I should say, to change their worlds. Forget about changing the world. We sat down and we talked to some kids and said, hey, and I'm going to ask y'all the same question, actually. If you knew that you could accomplish anything you want in this world, would you still be doing the same thing that you're doing right now? If you knew that you could accomplish anything you want in this world, that you had limitless capabilities, would you still be doing the very same thing that you're doing right now? I think some people, a few, would say yes. But I think the overwhelming majority of all of us would be saying no. How do we get to that point? How do we tap into that mindset? Maybe we can back into it and say, how did we get out of that mindset? Because that was our natural godly state. When we came out of the womb, when we were growing up living, that was how we naturally thought. At what point did things change? At what point did we start to place limitations on our lives? At what point did we ever think that chasing comfort was something that was worth chasing? When did that happen? When did we stop trying to become superheroes? When did we decide, have that conversation with ourselves? Because we all do it. We all do it where we sit back and say, well, I don't know. I used to want this. I used to want that. But honestly, I'd rather do a little bit less, and I'll accept a little bit less. It's not anything materialistic. The materialistic stuff, if that's what drives you, then cool, go for it. I'd rather embrace somebody who's driven by materialistic success or whatever, however they deem it, than somebody who's just unmotivated. Maybe your success is going to be becoming the best father in the world. Maybe your success is going to be becoming the best teacher in the world. How can I inspire as many different people as I can? I'm not saying that everybody has to have the dream of becoming the president of the United States, or you just don't have a good dream. No, maybe your job is to just become the best police officer ever, the best fireman ever, the best janitor ever. What's the value that I'm going to add as a janitor? I'm being dead serious. When I grew up in school, we looked up to the janitors in ways that when we get older now, we don't even look at them like that. A lot of times the janitor in school, that was the person who a janitor, you acting up in the hallway or something, you see that janitor, you straighten up. Sometimes even more than when you see your teacher. The janitor is the one that's giving you those little gems every now and then. The janitor is the one paying attention to how kids are walking through school and they got their head down and they're going through it. A lot of times that's the janitor that picks your head up. And we shouldn't be surprised with this. We shouldn't be surprised by this. No matter what role we're in, are we 100% committed? Do we think that we're working towards something bigger than just collecting a paycheck every 2 weeks? And if not, why? When did things change? When did things change? So, I think for me, the main takeaway is purpose. What is going to be our purpose as leaders? And what is going to be our purpose as perhaps the people that are in the generation? And when I say in the generation compared to the leaders, we're We are all both, right? We're all leaders and we're all followers and we're all doers. You know, we're doing something. But what I mean as far as the older people when I'm talking to, us, the ones that are, 25 and above, maybe a little bit younger in times, maybe 30 and above, maybe a little bit younger in times. What's going to be our purpose as it pertains to the example that we set for the next and younger generations? How are we going to live our lives, right? Because that's what it ultimately comes down to. That's how we teach. That's how people learn. People don't learn through what you tell them. They learn through what they see you doing. Through what they see you doing, not when everything's good, not when everything's easy, but when things get rough, when there's a lot on the line, when you're fighting for something that somebody looking from the outside in would not necessarily say that, hey, there's a great likelihood of you achieving this. So that's what I wanted to just start off with. That's what was on my mind. I said it wouldn't be a Tucker Carlson monologue. It probably ended up being a little bit longer in some ways. But that's just what was on top of my mind. We have decisions and choices to make. We were blessed to have free will. Everything that comes to us in life, we choose. We either choose to have it come to us. Some people will embrace that, and others will just embrace the fact that we choose how we respond to it. Either way, life, our impact, our life that we live is going to be based on decisions. How will you decide to approach today? If you're driving to work right now, if you just got to work, are you miserable? Are you looking at it like, damn, it's Monday. I don't feel like being here. I can't wait till the weekend. I got to see these people I don't feel like seeing. Or are you looking at it like, dang, it's Monday. Y'all know what we set out every Sunday and Monday to do, to make this our greatest week ever. What does that look like? Are we going to embrace that? What impact am I going to have? I got 5 days maybe to make an impact in whatever role it is that I'm playing on my job to help contribute to the overall success of the team. That's what I have the opportunity to do. Everything is an opportunity. I'm going to think about, oh my God, how blessed I am, how fortunate I am, how much of a privilege it is to be in this position where I can even go to work. I don't have to wait outside of Home Depot like an illegal migrant and wait for somebody to come pick me up, because those people, those are true hustlers. Those are believers. Those are people that are willing to do any and everything to live in their purpose. You telling me that somebody who's an illegal migrant, somebody that doesn't have much, somebody that is probably in a country that they never grew up in, maybe not even speaking the language that people speak in that country, and they can get up and pull up at a Home Depot and hope to get work at 5, 6, 7 a.m. and we're waking up miserable because we have to go to work. Just some things to think about. All right, do me a favor, like, subscribe. If you haven't already, send it to your group chat, share the link. We'll copy the link, then share the link, throw it in your group chat. We're getting ready to get to today's stories. All right, I don't know what we're going to start with. I think we're going to start with this this Josh Hammer video. Start with Josh Hammer, then we'll get into Van Jones, and then we'll get into Tucker Carlson's monologue. All right, so let me share the screen. Man, y'all got me going. Y'all got me going. Y'all got me going. BK, you got anything to add?
No, you hit it on the head.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, brother.
I felt that one when you said we just laying in bed all day. I felt.
You felt that one when I said we just lay in the bed? That was a little, you felt that like that was a shot?
Yeah.
Nah. No shots. No shots. All right. We're talking about everybody. All right. We all do it. Let's be honest. All right. So let's get to, so this was something that I saw maybe the end of last week. And it just kind of, to me, it fit with what we're getting ready to discuss with Van Jones, with Tucker Carlson, and just an overall mindset that I think a lot of people have when it comes to this situation between Israel and Palestine and politics in general, and how we can be misled. So, and let me lower my voice. I feel like I'm yelling. I'm yelling, right? I feel like I'm yelling, like the mic's not working. All right. All right, let's get into it. I think we got it on the screen. Take a listen to this.
But he, I think, felt that he sometimes had to be a little critical of Prime Minister Netanyahu or something there to try to maintain credibility with younger folks, with millennial NG. I think he thought that if he would go kind of full Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, I'm not picking on Ben and Mark, they're both good friends. I'm just saying hypothetically, I think Charlie thought that if he would have gone there, he would have probably lost credibility. And the reality is, Shabbos, that there was probably no single person in America, which is the point that you're correctly making. There was no single person in America who did more to keep Nick Fuentes, that whole Groyper neo-Nazi crew. Literally no one did more to keep them at bay than Charlie Kirk. No one. And it is a massive, massive issue that I am very concerned about in his absence. In fact, here in Florida, where I live, the rabbi where I go to synagogue, knew that Charlie and I were friends, and he called me, within minutes of on that terrible Wednesday afternoon of getting the news. This is actually one of his very first things he said to me was he immediately had this thought as to what happens to that kind of Nick Fuentes Groyper energy from there. I wish I had a good answer. I do not know what the answer is there.
I played that video for a few reasons. Like I said, it's going to directly lead into what we're talking about when it comes to who's inspiring the media, or who's controlling and influencing, I should say, the media. I'm so much on this inspirational thing. Do y'all ever realize that it's always the group of people that are committing the most evil and destruction that are trying to convince us that we shouldn't listen to somebody else because they're a threat of causing evil and destruction? So Josh Hammer, he's the guy that I only found out about him when he actually debated Dave Smith, my guy Dave Smith, on Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA event, the one where a lot of pro-Israel, pro-Zionist got upset with Charlie Kirk for platforming Tucker as well as Dave Smith. They debated, and it was similar to a lot of Dave Smith debates. And I actually just watched one with Coleman Hughes. I suggest y'all go check that one out yesterday. Coleman's a sharp brother. Y'all know what I feel about Dave, but I think it's just worth y'all watching it. But when it came to this particular interview with Josh Hammer and Dave Smith, it went like most of them go. It's like you're trying to defend something that is ungodly, that is evil and destruction, and acting as if you have no fault in this. You take no responsibility, and you're just embracing this victimhood that in your mind is an excuse and validation for you to be able to commit whatever destructive, evil, demonic actions that you'd like to on another group of people. This man, Josh Hammer, is a pro-Zionist, somebody who's supporting what Israel's doing, this genocide that Israel's committing on Palestinians. And he's sitting here warning us, telling us that a rabbi was warning him or nervous about what would happen after Charlie Kirk's death. Think about it. Charlie Kirk dies, a white Christian guy, right, from America. And Josh Hammer's rabbi is worried about Nick Fuentes now leading this next generation of what? Young white Christians? What are you exactly worried about? Has Nick Fuentes committed a genocide on a group of people? Y'all tell me, how many people has Nick Fuentes killed? How much land has Nick Fuentes taken from people, and it's led to a war that's been going on for a very long time that didn't just start on October 7th, contrary to a lot of people's beliefs and what they like to try to express to us? How come it's so easy for the rabbi and Josh Hammer to call out a threat of violence, right? That's what they're trying to make it seem like. And even us embracing that it's a threat of violence, that's what they're saying. That's not what we're saying. But what they're calling out and saying that they're worried about is a threat of violence. Meanwhile, you're committing a genocide, and for whatever reason, you're blind to that, but you have so much vision when it comes to the foresight in knowing that Nick Fuentes and his mindset will cause evil and destruction or violence. That is elitism. That is racism. That is you thinking that the people that you're aligned with are chosen and are favored and should get special treatment over the people that you're committing a genocide against. Not only is that elitism with the people that you're committing a genocide against, but that's elitism over the Charlie Kirks of the world. Who am I talking about? The Charlie Kirks of the world? I'm talking about white Christians in America who die in a lot of Middle Eastern wars that Netanyahu and Israel, in my opinion, get us involved in one way or another. The war in Iraq. People can sit here and debate and argue about, oh, well, what decision was already made or whatever else. Netanyahu came here and promoted us getting involved in a war that they didn't send one troop to. And when I say they, I'm talking about Israel. Netanyahu can come here and propagandize our people, our American citizens, into thinking that if we don't attack all of these Middle Eastern countries, that they're going to come after America next. That how thankful we should be for Israel fighting our battles and fighting against our quote unquote common enemies. This is the mindset that is projected to us. This is the mindset that Donald Trump and a lot of previous presidents and politicians have allowed because they're taking money from the Israeli, Zionist, Jewish, whatever you want to call it, because they pick and choose what AIPAC is based on whatever agenda they're trying to push at that particular time. 1 second, it has nothing to do with Israel. Okay. Well, then if it has nothing to do with Israel, let's just look at it as a Jewish American thing and say, hey, we got a problem with this. If it's, let's say it's not a foreign agent and they shouldn't have to register as a foreign lobbying group, then let's just look at it for what it is and say, damn, the only groups that are actually putting money in Democrats and Republicans, they seem to be the ones that want us divided and conquered. So therefore they can slide in with whatever their agenda is and profit off of the chaos that is confused with all the division tactics. Big Pharma, Silicon Valley, and Israel. But if we separate AIPAC, like y'all are saying in this situation, then we're just talking about Jewish Americans. Are we talking about the same Jewish Americans that control a lot of the media? Are we talking about the same Jewish Americans that Netanyahu says that we need to fight the war on this front as well, and that it's very important, and that we need to focus on talking to Israeli influencers, and how one of the most important things is for Larry Ellison, a Jewish contributor to a lot of the military efforts and pro-Israeli death and destruction that has been visited on Gaza and other people in that region? Are we going to look at those things? People will try to convince us that people who are standing up against death and destruction, people that are calling for no new wars, people that don't think America should play a role in other people committing genocides, in other people's foreign affairs, in other people making the decision that they want to grow the land that they were never even on in the first place, but that they were given, and now want to expand and kick more people off the land that were originally there. That sounds pretty anti-Semitic to me. But we've allowed ourselves to see it in a different way. And when I say we've allowed ourselves to see it in a different way, largely that's because we haven't been proactive about seeking the information and history as it actually happened. We just accept the things that are taught to us in elementary school, in high school, and we feel that we should do no due diligence outside of that. We have no interest in learning anything unless MSNBC, Fox News, or CNN is teaching us. Where's the due diligence that we're going to do? Everybody likes to get so invested during election time when it's time to, all right, time to divide, time to show how radical I can be against that other group. Everybody loves to be radical and push the limit and be proactive when it comes to that stuff. But who's going to be proactive about us even understanding the situation that we're in? Us even understanding that as soon as we choose a side and become a fanatic of a Democratic Party or a Republican Party or this politician or that politician, we have instantly lost. And when I say we, I'm talking about Americans. I'm talking about humanity. And who's winning? The people that aren't divided. The people that don't look at this Democrat as a evil person and this Republican as amazing and vice versa. It's the people that invest in both. That's who ends up winning. Who propagandizes us? Who's censoring Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg? Who's hiding information from us when it comes to us making a life or death decision and whether or not we're going to put that jab in our arm in 2020? These politicians don't have the power that we think that they do. They're controlled by money the same way you are controlled by money, which is why the majority of us are on our way to work right now to do something that none of us feel like doing. To do something for the next 20, 30 years that we'll hate and despise, but won't have the courage and effort and be proactive and move into something that's more purposeful that we would appreciate more and would be more rewarding, I should say. People rely on us to be as lazy as possible, us to be as ignorant as possible, so therefore they can control us, manipulate us, usually with emotions, and push us one way or another, whichever way benefits them, and usually comes at the expense and is detrimental to us. That's what ends up happening. As far as I'm seeing it, if I'm seeing it wrong, y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. All right. Next video. Let's get into this Van Jones video. Let's get into this Van Jones video. Do I got it up on the screen for y'all? Hold on. Let me share this one instead. Here we go. Make sure y'all like, make sure y'all subscribe, and make sure y'all turn your notifications on. Maybe even share with a friend and tell them to share with another friend. Let's get to it.
But isn't part of that because we had to fold everything into critical race theory, and somehow the Middle East became part of, you know?
I see it differently. And I love this conversation because I think people, those of us who went to college, give a lot more credit to college courses for how the world works than I do. This is not about critical race theory on college campuses. This is about Iran. Iran and Qatar have come up with a disinformation campaign that they are running through TikTok and Instagram that is massive. If you are a young person, you open up your phone and all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby,
right.
Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. That's basically your whole feed. So that's not DEI. That is a geopolitical adversary that is deliberately trying to divide the West against itself.
That view is not.
Now, I'm very interested, and perhaps I wish that I would have saw a bit earlier in the clip. I'm not sure the connection that they were making to DEI. I'm assuming that they must have been talking about something similar to it. I don't know where it connects, but perhaps that's just another example of how we can be so focused on one thing that we end up limiting our mindset or our scope on what's actually happening as we take a step back and zoom out a bit to see everything. So let me go to Van Jones's X file. Let me go to his X profile. I want y'all to see some of this. Can y'all see this? All right, there we go. So somebody wrote, truly disgraceful and vile, Van Jones. This is Dr. Omar Suleiman. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry dead Gaza babies bother you so much. Maybe tell the people paying you to put lipstick on a genocide. Ooh. Let me make sure I'm reading it the right way with the right energy. I'm sorry dead Gaza babies bother you so much. Maybe tell the people paying you to put lipstick on a genocide to stop killing them. And that them that they're referring to is the dead Gaza babies. Van Jones responds, yeah, I messed up this one, and I'm sorry. I was trying to raise awareness about foreign adversaries creating chaos online, which is undermining democracy everywhere. But what I said was easily misunderstood, and the way I said it was flat out insensitive. Babies are dying every day in Gaza. Nobody should dispute the fact or make light of it in any way. To the people living in fear and burying family members every day of all ages, I apologize. Okay. Then Van Jones writes, I made a comment on Real Time with Bill Maher about the war in Gaza that was insensitive and hurtful. I apologize. The suffering of the people in Gaza, especially the children, is not a punchline. I'm deeply sorry it came across that way. What's happening to children in Gaza is heartbreaking. As a father, I can't begin to imagine the pain their parents are enduring, unable to protect their kids from unimaginable harm. I'm praying and working for an immediate end to this war and for peace and safety for every family caught in its path. I'm truly sorry for the pain my words caused to people who are already suffering more than anyone should. So you can see he went on a little bit of an apology tour. I don't know if I would say that. When was this written? This was October 5th. So this was yesterday. So I don't think Van Jones has been on TV. I'm assuming that today when he's on CNN, whatever show he's on, or tomorrow, that he'll make a statement, maybe addressing that. Maybe not. Maybe not. Actually, I would bet that he wouldn't. I would bet that he wouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Is Van Jones apologizing for the right thing? And I don't want to take away or be insensitive of what he's actually apologizing for. But what he apologized for is the easy apology, in my opinion. What he apologized for is the easy apology, in my opinion. And what do I mean by that? What you should be apologizing for, and is it Qatar or is it Qatar? I don't know, but he said Qatar, so let's go Qatar. He's calling out the influence of Qatar and other, I guess you would call Arab nations or other Middle Eastern nations, and the influence that they have by us seeing what's happening in Palestine, the death, the destruction, the genocide. He's calling that quote unquote propaganda out, right? Him even calling it propaganda. What determines it as propaganda, right? He's calling that out, but not once have you ever heard Van Jones, and perhaps this would have been the perfect time to call out how the media, the Israeli or Jewish controlled media influenced. I'm pretty sure that anybody living in America, you would say that our news outlets are probably a bit more influenced by Jewish people and the pro-Israel mindset rather than anything else. Van Jones doesn't call out how much propaganda went out and how since 9/11, if we're all being real with ourselves, how we look at Arabs. Van Jones is picking and choosing what he decides to call out, perhaps because he's on mainstream news outlets that a large amount of their funding come from sponsors, come from Big Pharma, come from a lot of these organizations, the BlackRock, the other black group, whatever. Who do we think's controlling these organizations? Who do we think is fueling these organizations? But you want to call out the influence of Qatar? Here you are as a super Democrat who damn near has cried about Joe Biden on TV, but you want to call out the influence that Qatar has on our news media and social media when Mark Zuckerberg, the most influential social media platform owner, boss, whatever you want to call him, in the world, called out Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for them pressuring his Meta platforms to censor certain things that did not align with the agenda that Biden and Kamala Harris were pushing. You see, it's easy to pick on a Muslim. It's easy to pick on an Arab. But it's very hard to call out and keep that same energy when it comes to Israel and Jewish people. Not just Israel, Jewish people as well. If we're being totally honest, very hard, because this is what people try to do. They try to pick and choose. Well, that's Israel. Well, is Israel controlling our news outlets, or is that Jewish Americans who are pro-Israel? Doesn't Bibi Netanyahu have citizenship in America as well? Maybe I misheard that in a podcast that I was listening to yesterday. So Bibi Netanyahu, I guess, gets to pick and choose what role he's playing. Is he Jewish American or is he Israeli? I guess depending on what the situation calls for. Swiss Army knife, right? Van Jones has been a sucker for a very long time. Van Jones has been scared to call out certain things. He's been a Democratic pawn for a very long time, trying to convince us that this is actually about Democrats versus Republicans. All of these people on the news stations, all these politicians, they know damn well that it's not about Democrats versus Republicans, because the same people that put money in Van Jones's pocket are the same people that are putting money in his biggest ops pockets. We don't think that he knows that? Are we that ignorant where we don't think that the people that are actually playing in the game? We see Donald Trump and Barack Obama sitting down as if nothing's going on, laughing and joking and kikiing together. Meanwhile, Barack Obama and all the Democrats are trying to convince us that Donald Trump is Hitler, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, and that we should hate him. But you're laughing and joking with him? These people are suckers. They are not men. And men, I'll be totally honest, if we see ourselves as the leaders of any generation, then we have to look inward when it comes to our leadership and perhaps how we've been emasculated and how we've allowed ourselves to be emasculated, how we bought into this mindset of emasculation, in my opinion. Perhaps we need to understand the impact that that's having, not only on us, but on the next generations, on the people that we look at. How do we not call out Van Jones? Van Jones is talking about Qatar having an influence on our social media platforms, when then you got videos like this. Hold on. You got videos like this. Let me pull this video up. What time? What's the time? I know I have the time on 2 minutes and 28 seconds. All right. Take a look at this video. Matter of fact, I'll just leave it here. It'll play into, no, that's actually too long. What did I say? 222?
Social media was fueling the growing animosity towards Israel and that they have to fight back. Take a look.
How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. So we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends, or those who could be our Jewish our friends.
And there's a good reason why Netanyahu is so.
So let's unpack that. We're fighting, and he's bragging to the United Nations about killing people with beepers. He'll fight with missiles. He'll fight with starvation. And now he wants to fight by propagandizing American social media platforms, and we just sit back and accept that as he fights with our donations, our tax dollars, our support, both moral and financial. Is there any way that Netanyahu won't fight? Are there any morals that supersede his selfish vision, agenda, perspective? This man is outright saying that we need to fight and get more of our influencers pushing pro-Israeli propaganda on social media platforms. And here Van Jones is on TV calling out Qatar for propagandizing Americans on our social media platforms. The dead babies, I'll be totally honest, as insensitive as that was, that's the emotional feel. People will hear Van Jones and, oh my God, he said dead babies. He referenced Diddy. That's the emotional aspect of that. That's wrong. Van Jones pointed out how that's wrong. But he'll never call out the logical aspects of why he's wrong. He'll never call that out because that's too dangerous. You'd rather apologize for being emotionally insensitive than call out how you're completely misleading us from a logical standpoint, because you're scared, because you have no integrity when it comes to the things that you're presenting to the rest of the world, because you are an active participant in the Israeli propaganda. You're an active participant because you're a quote unquote friend of Israel. I had somebody say that to me. Literally, let's be clear. Hold on. Let's back this up a little bit. Y'all do realize that before October 7th and even after October 7th, and overall, I work with Jewish people. Some of my closest friends were Jewish, right? And I'm not giving y'all the whole, my best friend's black. I'm not giving y'all that. I'm telling y'all the reality. I was reading Jewish scripture. Some of the books, if you follow me on Instagram, some of the powerful books that I was reading that I was quoting and posting the most were Jewish. I was meeting with rabbis. I was going to Brooklyn, pulling up and interviewing the most viewed rabbi on YouTube, Rabbi Manis Friedman. I bought in a lot of ways because I understood exactly how Jewish people, based on their culture, are successful. And I was embraced by a few that I believe that, and this is where it kind of, I have to question all the time. I believe that these people are not bad people. I believe that, like a lot of us, we can get emotionally instigated and propagandized to see the world through a very limited perspective. And that is why when I started off the show, when somebody wrote Free Palestine, I'm also trying to free Israel. I'm trying to free the minds from the corruption that leaders like Netanyahu have put into play and poisoned a lot of Israelis and a lot of Jewish people around the world. This is a mindset thing. Us thinking that violence is okay, us killing each other, that war is okay, and then doing it in the name of God, in the name of Judaism, in the name of Christianity, violating God's most important commandment and justifying it. No wonder why the world's upside down. No wonder why the world's upside down. We're not only violating God's most important commandment, but we're doing it in his name. When I say that these are scary times that we're living in, I mean it maybe twofold, because, oh yeah, it's real scary what's going on. But perhaps I mean it even more of like how scary we are. How scary we are to call out what's right. Like we're still moving around like we're slaves and And hey, you got to be careful what you say around massa. Don't let the big boss hear you. Hey, don't have that mindset. That's dangerous. You sure you want to go on YouTube and say that? You sure that you want to go on YouTube and say, hey, we should stop committing a genocide. We should stop funding a genocide. You sure you want to say that on TV? No, you should go along with the genocide. You should just blame October 7th and use that to justify killing as many civilians as possible in Palestine and destroying their entire state. You should lean into that. That's safer. Why would you want to do anything else? Matter of fact, not only that, you should remain ignorant on the topic. So therefore, you have an internal excuse as to why you don't have to act on it because, well, I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know that these Europeans came and took land from some Arabs and are acting as if they're entitled to that land based on God giving it to them. What are we talking about? Like what? People must be, somebody, was it something I said? Oh, I got a super chat. I thought they were knocking on the door or something. Oh, my apologies. Hold on. Let me address this. Hold on. Project Alethea. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Or Alethea. My apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. Wrote, my dude, you are cooking. I usually watch your recorded videos, but your live shows are on point. You have great things to say. Keep going. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing. You want to know why? Because what other option do we have? What other option do we have? If we don't, we're always looking for somebody else to do the things that we know need to be done, as if we can't just embrace doing them ourselves. How manly is that? To be waiting for the next man to do for us what we should be doing ourselves. Do we feel comfortable about being man? Like, does that make us feel like a man? When you know something should be said, when you know something that should be done, and perhaps even worse, if you choose to be ignorant, if you choose not to learn, and that gives you the excuse to not act on something, or perhaps my fault. Let me take a step back. Perhaps we just all have more important things going on in our individual lives. You're right. You're right. But when those chickens come home to roost, nobody can be upset. If we think that we can just fund genocides and act like our hands are just clean in that process and act like we're not contributing to what's going on, to the dead babies that Van Jones is talking about, if we think that we're not contributing to that, then okay, cool. I guess Judgment Day, especially to a lot of the religious folk, I guess Judgment Day, you can take it up with God. But if God's sitting down with you right now, looking at you like, damn, I gave you all of this. I gave you the ability to learn. I gave you the ability to work out and put your body in the physical peak shape. I gave you the ability to work well with each other. I gave you the ability to be the most superior functioning species on this planet. And this is what you do with it. You act like the lowest beast on the planet. Life is about decisions. Decisions. Some people embrace a mindset of things happen to me. Other people embrace the mindset of things happening for me. And other people just don't care and they just push on purpose. Big P purpose. The impact that they're going to make on this world. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Once again, shout out to Project Alethea or Alethea. Really, really appreciate that support. Hey, these super chats, I can't let them go. I can't understate it, how much it really helps, supporting. Just like here, let me put it in perspective. When you got goofy Van Jones going on TV saying all these crazy things, and you got a whole bunch of these other people going on and sounding so stupid, so naive, so cowardly, they're doing it for super chats, just super chats in a different form. So they go a long way. The difference is some people are going to be led or determine what they say, determine the position that they're pushing, the agenda that they're pushing based on the money that they receive. And other people just align with their morals, principles, and values and passionately pursue it. And whatever comes with it, whatever support, whatever super chats, whatever donations come with it, I'm accepting it, along with the other negative things that may come with it or the perception of negative things, right? Because a lot of this fear that we build up in ourselves, it's all a perception of fear. Fear is not real. Fear is as real as we allow it to be. I'll give you a prime example. I also had a very proud moment yesterday, a very proud and happy moment, which my mom and Maya and I, my mom has a fear of heights. She has a fear of heights. She has a fear of water. And I think my mom would be okay with me expressing that, but she's never overcame her fear of heights or fear of water. And in the last couple months, she signed up for a aquatics therapy class in which she's working out in a pool. Now, that may seem like not a lot to many people, but when you have a fear of something, and my mom loves the ocean, she loves the beach, she loves pools. But this fear of water probably has limited her from experiencing some of what could have been the most enjoyable moments that she could have had in her life, because there's a fear of getting into the water. And you have to overcome that fear internally. You have to look internally. And you can't have somebody else push you, inspire you. A lot of times you'll lock up and just push back, right? That's what we tend to do when people try to encourage, inspire us to do things that we don't feel like doing. We lock up and look for reasons to push back against it. Not only did she do the aquatics therapy class, but yesterday we decided to walk over a bridge that had to be, I don't know, like 300 yards high. Is that realistic? Yeah, the name of the bridge was High Bridge. Look it up in Farmville. Matter of fact, let's look it up. Let's look up how tall is the High Bridge in Farmville, Virginia. I don't want it to be like, yo, it's 50 feet. Y'all. All right. Nah, it had to be more than that. Hold on. How it says 125 feet. Hold on. Nah, man. Don't let them take away from your story. How many? Because you divide it by 3 and that's yards. So about 40. Nah, there's no way. Hold up. There's no way that's 40 yards above ground. Yeah, whatever. I don't believe it. That's just something else that ChatGPT is lying about. Just like they've been lying about certain things we were looking up last night pertaining to this Israel-Palestine debate. But it is what it is. Doesn't matter how high the distance is. My mom got on that bridge and initially she was stuck, couldn't move. Not only did she get on the bridge, but she walked a half mile or whatever it was across the bridge, and then knowing that she had to walk all the way back. Before, when she first got on the bridge, she was scared. That fear was so real, it stuck her in her tracks. Then on the way back, she's walking along the bridge, taking videos, taking photos. She freed herself from the limitations that she put on herself with fear. That is how a lot of us move through life. That's another thing that we were discussing when it comes to these young kids at Hampton Sydney over the weekend and the end of last week. How fear sets limitations on our lives. And parents, leaders in the community, whoever you are, just like a father can release a lot of fear that a child has, but when you holding dad's hand or you holding mom's hand, especially when dad's in the room and you think your dad's a superhero, you can walk in any scenario, any situation, and feel safe. Leaders and parents can do the same thing when it comes to our next generation, as well as our peers, when it comes to feeling safe, standing on principles, morals, values, and integrity. We need to hold ourselves accountable. Fear of doing the right thing does not excuse us and validate not only us not doing the right thing, but what we're seeing right now is it's validating us doing the wrong thing. Let's keep going. It's already 9:30. Been rambling today. All right, so let's get into this Tucker Carlson monologue. We're going to watch as much as we can. I think I 7:22. Hold on. Let me pull this up, share this tab instead. All right. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. So Iraq wrote, fear is actually useful for survival. However, we have to use critical thinking and push through the fear when it's necessary, not letting fear control your life. Oh my God, Iraq. You actually, thank you for reminding me the second part of what we discussed, actually, even in the classroom with the kids. Fear can either use you or you can use fear. Fear is a very valuable tool. Fear highlights the things in our lives that we need to overcome in order to push through and get closer to achieving our highest potential, fulfilling our potential. Fear is very useful. Lean into it. It's there for a reason. What did Mike Tyson always say? He used fear his entire time of training. Matter of fact, the times where he wasn't fearful, that's when he got beat up by people that shouldn't have beat him up, a la Buster Douglas. If Mike Tyson can use fear, I think all of us can understand how that fear can be used to our advantage as well, and that we shouldn't look at it as something that makes us cowardly or anything else. It's only cowardly if we're not using it to benefit us and to push us, to inspire us, to learn more about ourselves. Fear teaches us a lot about ourselves. It tells us you're approaching the end of your comfort zone. That's what fear is. Shout out to the big homie Robert B, always coming through and supporting us. Robert, we appreciate you. You know that. We vote with our money. We vote with what we choose to give our attention to. Make sure to turn on notifications, as it's the only way to fight back against the algorithm that is actively trying to divide us. Please, let me be very clear on this channel. This is not a pro this, pro that channel. This is anything outside of pro-humanity and pro-peace. As soon as we say, oh, I'm pro this, it's just, even if you think you're right, it just causes the division. It causes the radicalization of one side or another. We have to approach it with balance. We can't balance something by approaching it with a radical pendulum swing in the other way. It doesn't work that way, because the hardest thing to achieve is balance. So therefore, that has to be the goal, in my opinion. This is all just my opinion. All just my opinion. All right, let me I see a lot of comments coming in. I'm trying to read as many as possible. Yeah. Hey, Robert, Steve approves, man. When Steve approves something, then we hold on to it. All right. Let me play this video for y'all. Where are we? What did I say? 722.
There's a lot going on in the world right now, but if you're on social media, and of course you are, because it's really America's only remaining news source, you know there's only one story going on.
Hold on. Hold on. Lizzie Lou wrote something. Lizzie Lou wrote, most people in fear don't survive. So that's a lie. I think this is a false perception of fear. Everybody's in fear, Lizzie Lou. Everybody's in fear. Do you not think that Michael Jordan was motivated by fear? I just told you that Mike Tyson was motivated by fear. All of the greats, they're motivated by a certain level of fear. Perhaps the fear to not become the greatest versions of themselves. Perhaps the fear that it could be as simple as a fear of I don't want anybody to ever look at me as not the greatest basketball player ever. That fear, the fear of not achieving, the fear of losing, the fear of not winning. Most people in fear don't survive. What are you talking about? Don't survive? Are you talking about that we all eventually die? What do you mean most people in fear don't survive? Most people that, and maybe let me be clear. I'm reading what you're saying. I actually agree with most people in fear. But I'm saying most people, everybody is in fear. But it's how we choose to decide to deal with that fear. Some people choose to run towards comfort and deal with the fear that way. Other people decide to run towards, why am I fearful in this area? And I'm going to overcome it. This is what men do. Men can't run away from fear. If we have a society of men that runs away from fear, what do we think that society is going to ultimately look like? Lizzie Lou, I'm going to assume you're a young lady. You can run away from fear. You can run away. But if I'm in a house and somebody's trying to break into the house, as a man, and I have a family to protect, that's my duty and obligation. I can't sit in the corner and let my wife or my kids, what am I going to let the person coming into my house approach my kids before I approach them? Don't allow your personal privilege to set precedent on how you look at everybody else, what's comfortable for you. You know what else I'm fearful of? And what a lot of people are motivated by? Becoming in the best shape as possible. You know who's fearless? There's a lot of fearless people out here that are obese, that don't care about life, that move in a reckless manner. And there's a whole bunch of other people who are fearful. Fearful to the point where, hey, I need to make sure that I can protect myself. I need to make sure that I'm in great shape. I need to make sure that I know how to use a tool of protection in a lot of ways. You don't think that that's overcoming fear? The fear is going to be there regardless. No, most people that allow fear to use them forget surviving. Look at the word that you're using. Who wants to go through life and survive? Maybe you're right. Most people in fear, you're surviving with this mindset. I don't want to survive. Who? It goes back to the question that I asked earlier in the show. If you had no limitations, if you felt that you could achieve any and everything in this world, what would you be doing? If you really thought that you're a superhero, would you ever wake up and say, I just want to survive. Today, I just hope I survive. No, I want to thrive. I want to push the envelope. I want to push the envelope so much that I fail. And then I learn lessons in the process of failing that are going to set me up to be successful moving forward. This is why you are an example. And I'm not trying to pick on you, Lizzie Lou, and I'm not talking about you, but your mindset, in my opinion, unless I'm hearing it wrong, is the reason why it's so critical for men to make sure that we're educated, we're informed, right? We're in the best shape that we can be in, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of these different areas, because this leadership is needed now more than ever. Because if we're running away from fear for comfort, that's going to put the rest of the world in a very bad place if we're only searching for comfort. That's us embracing social programs rather than making sure that we don't need social programs. That's us embracing the manipulation of a country and us embracing our tax dollars fueling a genocide rather than standing up and saying, nah, we're not doing this. We're not standing for this. Let me get back to the video.
And it's Israel. Everyone online is arguing about Israel. And really, they fall into one of two camps, generally speaking. So probably the more aggressive side are the deranged Taliban-level ethno-narcissists who are telling you that any criticism of the secular government of Israel is tantamount to blood libel against the Jewish people. And if you think that maybe it was not a great idea to arm Joseph Stalin, the greatest murderer in history, then you're a Holocaust denier. Shut up. And then on the other side, a group every bit as obsessed with Jews are the people who hate Jews, who are telling you that anyone who's Jewish is bad by virtue of being Jewish. It's a blood thing. Two things are interesting. One, there are very few kind of conventional Christian voices saying, wait a second, this is a secular government, another country, and it has probably nothing to do with my religion or anybody's religion. And we should never judge people on the basis of their immutable qualities because guilt and virtue are not passed down genetically. But almost no one is saying that. So you really have the ethno-narcissists and the anti-Semites, and they're at war with each other. That's the online picture. What's even more interesting and maybe even more distressing is that in the U.S. government, the conversation, while much more muted, is a mirror of this in that a lot of the conversation is about Israel. Israel, a tiny country in the Middle East. Not critical to our national security, by the way. But the conversation, the bandwidth, is consumed by questions of Israel. So wherever you stand on Israel, whether you're on one of the two sides just described or neither one of them, you know in your gut that this is bad. If a country like ours, supposedly the most powerful in the world, is devoting all of its time internally to conversations about Israel, it's probably not going in a good direction. There's probably a lot being neglected in favor of this very specific boutique conversation about this tiny little country. It's just not good for anybody, including Israel, by the way. So what's the antidote to this? How do you fix it? Here are 4 things you can do to make the conversation about Israel and the relationship with Israel a lot healthier than it currently is. Here are the 4. The first is get some global perspective on what we're talking about. The United States is a nation of 350 million people. It has some of the deepest natural resources in the world. That would include energy and water, agricultural products. The United States, however it's managed, is a powerhouse globally and always will be because its strength is inherent. It's a huge, decisive country in the scope of world history. The United States makes things happen. Israel is not an insult, merely an observation. By contrast, is a tiny and inherently insignificant country, at least geopolitically, in that it has only 9 million people and no natural resources, no meaningful natural resources. So it is insignificant. It is also physically tiny. It's about the size of New Jersey, famously, but it has a much smaller GDP than New Jersey. It is a much smaller economy than the state of New Jersey. It has an economy about the size of the state of Arizona and almost 1/2 the economy of the state of Massachusetts or Illinois. It just doesn't really matter, actually. If you're looking at a map and thinking through, where does power politics go, Israel's not even on the list. Again, it's tiny. It's got the population of Burundi. It's got a smaller population than Belgium. What is this anyway? And yet, despite its objective insignificance, it is the focus of the conversation, but it's also the focus of the spending. So right now, as we speak, tonight, there are 2 THAAD missile batteries in Israel. That's 1/4 of the world's total supply of THAAD missile batteries. The THAAD missile battery is an American-made, very high-tech missile battery that takes incoming missiles out of the sky. And 1/4 of the world's entire supply of these is in Israel right now, manned by U.S. troops, by Americans. In uniform or not, they are American military personnel, and they are manning these batteries to protect Israel. And that shouldn't surprise you because since October 7th, 2023, which is a little less than 2 years ago, the United States has spent at minimum $30 billion defending Israel. Huge. And for some perspective, the entire Israeli military budget before October 7th was about $25 billion. So the United States has put at least $30 billion into defending Israel in less than 2 years. Over the course of its existence, a little less than 80 years, the United States has put $300 billion, at least, those are just the on-books numbers, into supporting Israel. $300 billion. Israel is by far, no one comes close, the largest recipient of U.S. aid over time.
I'm reading a couple different things, and based on, hold on. If you are in an MMA fight and focus on fear, you lose. That's what I meant. Oh, so Lizzie did provide context. I absolutely agree. Which is why I said that I may be taking a comment and misinterpreting it. I'm reading a comment, which is what you're saying is living in fear. If you live in fear, that you lose. I understand 100%. That was the whole point of this. So I misinterpreted it. But you saying that it's interesting. Look, I'm not trying to get on here and try to make interesting or to put you in gotcha moments. If I truly misinterpret something, I have absolutely no problem with saying that I misinterpreted something, which is why I asked you to provide more context. I totally understand what you're saying. Totally understand what you're saying. As far as if you are in an MMA fight and focus on fear, you lose. That's what I meant. In general, you have to have a healthier mindset. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But let me ask y'all this, and not even a but. I don't want to say but. I agree 100%. Period. And the reason why I'm elaborating on this, because I think it's a very important topic. I don't know about y'all. I truly don't know. And I'm going to ask some of the people in the room as well. I don't know about y'all, but if I put myself in a challenging situation and really push myself beyond my comfort zone, and these are just what I've done in life, all of those things have approached fear. The only time that I don't feel fear, and I don't look at myself as a coward or somebody that's scared to do certain things, I don't see it as that. But even the people that think that they're not living in fear, and this is what I would ask y'all, because maybe I could be off. I actually just put up an interview the other day that I did with Maya. So Lizzie Lou, let me say this. I want to be very clear in what I'm saying. You're right. I agree with you. I misinterpreted that. But let me ask you this. Anybody that has tried to do something that is a bit delusional, right, hasn't been done before, pushing yourself outside of your limits, you get under that squat rack and you've never lifted 500 pounds and you're going to lift it. There's a certain fear. The only time that I have been fearless, is when I'm not pushing myself to the point where I know I'm risking something. Now for y'all, is that the same thing with y'all, BK?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing with you, Maya? I don't know. Maybe because fear has.
I push myself the same way you push yourself.
And so Maya said that she doesn't think that she pushes herself the same way that she pushes myself. All right, Maya's finna mic up.
Did you shout out Robert?
I did shout out Robert. Put this on. Hold on. Because we just had a conversation on this. Hold on. Hopefully y'all let me know if y'all can hear Maya. Do a test.
Testing.
Okay. So hold on. This is a great conversation. Thank you, Lizzie. Fear has controlled my life in a lot of ways. It's been a gift and a curse. There's not a time in my life that I haven't been fearful, just being totally honest. I'm always fearful of something, and me recognizing that fear and being very conscious of where that fear is has almost operated as a navigation system, because every time I go directly to confront that fear, to confront it, and then move on to the next level of fear, right? It's all about levels to me. The very things that have navigated me, that I've used fear to navigate me in certain areas of life, to go to this. I need to address this. I need to address that. that has been what has opened up the door for me to get on to the next level. So I understand what you're saying. We can't be controlled by fear, but I don't think it's realistic for us to sit here and strive to have a life where there's no fear. I just don't think, I think that fear is very important for humans. I don't think that was an accident that God created fear in us. I think that when we see certain animals, when we're walking through certain neighborhoods, that fear can save our lives in a lot of ways. So am I going to walk through a certain neighborhood at 1 a.m. through the Bronx or DC or certain areas or in LA wearing a certain color? Am I going to walk through the rolling 60s wearing a certain color or wearing red in LA and just say, yo, I'm fearless? No, the fear is what allows me to understand certain things about my environment. So I don't think we need to have this relationship with fear as if we don't see the value in it. I don't know anybody who's not, the people that achieve the most, we don't think that Elon Musk is fearful. Maybe I'm just seeing it wrong. But once again, this is just been my experience in life. I'm not even saying that it's the healthiest approach. I'm being totally honest with y'all. And maybe this is a great example of how a lot of us need to appreciate men a bit more, because we love to celebrate mommy. Mother's Day is always bigger than Father's Day. But perhaps this is just another reason as to why we need to appreciate men more. And perhaps the reason why we're living in this emasculated society where a lot of the men that are appreciated, a lot of the men that we celebrate are the emasculated men instead of the men that are standing on principles, moving and confronting the fear, not trying to be liked, but trying to live on purpose and do what's right and what pushes people. Because men, ladies, we live in fear. Fear is real for us in every situation that we go through. When we walk into a room, when we walk into a certain environment, the things that women are privileged enough to not think when you may walk into that room, especially if you're with somebody that you trust to protect you, men are very realistic of these things. We're very aware of these things. In any situation, when we confront somebody, we're sizing somebody up where if this shit went left, how would I respond? Am I lying? BK, am I wrong? In every situation, fear is real to us. It's a thing. Now, it may even sound like I'm contradicting myself, and maybe I am. Maybe I'm calling myself out. Because in some ways, I don't want fear to control us. This is why I said earlier, use fear, don't let fear use you. I don't want to be naive and oblivious to the point where it's like I'm not even trying to chase fear. Every day I'm fighting fear. Me choosing to do this show for 3 years, not making any money, taking away hours, putting more time, effort, and energy into this show, and losing out on clients, losing out on business, and what puts food on the table. You don't think that that's a fear that I'm leaning to in every day? That the more I give to this, the more I have to take away from that? That's fear, but I'm confronting it. And my apologies if I know that you've probably responded. And I want to make sure that you get a chance to respond, Lizzie.
She did.
Okay, so Lizzie wrote, I understand. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure. So Lizzie, if you respond and I missed it, please copy and paste it again because I'll see it again and make sure
read her responses.
I understand wanting to push yourself. Is there another one?
And she also said she doesn't let fear control her life anymore.
So let me ask you this. For fear not to control my life, I have to address it. It's almost like a situation where, have you ever avoided something? You can choose to avoid certain things, but they're still controlling you in certain ways, right? The only way for that thing that you've been avoiding to not control you is to confront it, is to be aware of it. You can't confront something that's challenging you if you're not aware of it in the first place?
Well, she did say God or man created the fear, ? Fear is an emotion. It is important to be self-aware and prepare. Then you don't have to have fear.
Say it again with the mic.
I can hear it.
Oh, you can hear it? Oh.
Fear is an emotion. It is important to be self-aware and prepare. Then you don't have fear.
But what provides, okay, so it's important to prepare, right? So you don't have fear. Are we looking around at humans? Go back to the concept that I started off with saying. Hard times, what do hard times create? Strong men. What do strong men create? Easy times. What do easy times create? Weak men. What do weak men create? Hard times. If you understand human nature, we will understand that with no fear, there's never been an urgency. That is why the elites become elite, because they are able to convince themselves. That is why Michael Jordan made up stories about people talking about him just to constantly motivate and inspire him, because it's very hard for human nature to be inspired. That's why when we watch a sports game, a team can be up by 30 points, but then it's like, oh, here goes the other team coming back. Fear usually comes with a certain level of urgency. If you're not fearful, let me ask you this. If you're not fearful that eating McDonald's every day and not working out will limit your years on life, are you going to make a change? If you're living in a utopic world where there is no fear, are you going to have a certain level of urgency to do the preparation that you're talking about? So therefore, when a certain situation comes up, you can respond, because that's what we're really talking about. I operate in fear. I'm fighting fear all day, right? That's practice. I'm fighting fear. So therefore, when I get into the game, when a situation actually occurs, then I can address it accordingly and just respond rather than having the fear overcome me. But I'm still being inspired and motivated by fear. The things that men have to confront in this world are different than the things that women have to confront in this world. It is okay for y'all to sit back and have this mindset of, oh, I'm chasing comfort. But that is a very privileged position. That is a very privileged position that you've been fortunate to be raised in. But if men who have different roles embrace that mindset, where does that lead us to? There's not going to be a certain amount of urgency. What do we tend to do? We tend to take the easy route. We tend to take the shortcut. Oh, well, you don't have to do all that. You don't have. Just imagine a team when you're playing sports. Is your preparation when you're playing sports, is it the same thing as when you're playing a team that you know is likely to maybe beat y'all or challenge you in certain ways when you're playing a difficult team compared to when you're playing a team that you know you're going to beat? Let's be honest with ourselves. Is our preparation, and I'm not talking about you specifically and I'm not talking about Lizzie, I'm talking about whoever's sitting here saying, well, I prepare the same way no matter who it is. Bullshit. If you know you're getting ready to go up against something that is more challenging, it's balance like everything else. Think about it. It's balance. The things that we see in this world that are terrible, the things that we see, a lot of times it's a certain level of balance. Balance is the hardest thing. It's easy to look at it as if there's only two sides of it on a spectrum. Fear over here, no fear over here. I want to be in the middle. And in the middle is where I'm aware of this fear, but I don't let it control me. Do you have anything else to add? Did Lizzie write anything else?
No.
Yeah. Oh, she said okay. So God or man created fear. I wanted to
And she also said, I agree, we need to appreciate men more.
All right. So God or man created fear. I don't know. And that's another question. How do choose what God or man created? Because this is another question that comes up all the time. It seems like we pick and choose based on convenience what things God created and what things man created. Did God or man create religion? Did God or man create religion? Oh, well, it was inspired by this. It was inspired by this. It was so did fear, wasn't fear inspired by it? I don't know. I don't know who created it. I just know that for me, I need to confront it. I just know that for me to wake up with a certain amount of urgency that I've always had to have and understand that I need to embrace this certain level of fear. Because fear is very valuable for me. I don't want a fearless life. Because easy times create weak men and weak men create hard times. How many times do we see kids that grow up in a family where their dad had to work hard, mom had to work hard to overcome and challenge and confront their fears in order to provide a better life for the kids? Now the kids grow up spoiled, robbed of the opportunities and experiences that the parents had growing up. And how do those kids tend to be brought up? They're spoiled. It's hard to teach principles. It's hard to teach without fear. How do you teach somebody to walk across the street and to look both ways? If you don't, you can get hit by a car and die. So we're aware of the fear and using the fear to prepare us. So therefore, once we're prepared, then we don't have to worry about that level of fear. We can move on to the next level. So hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. So Robert wrote, hold on. So Robert wrote, shout out to Robert. Thank you very much for the super chat. Fear can only take you so far. It is dangerous as fear can lead to a manifestation of what you are fearing. Read what Kobe said about failure and fear. I'll definitely read what Kobe said about failure and fear. I think I'm agreeing with y'all, but it may just be coming across in a different way. Yes, when you have the fear, when your fear outweighs you, when your fear is so strong that you're scared to confront the fear and grow from it, then absolutely. We don't want that. But us not acknowledging the fear, I think I'm getting told to move on. I'm beating a dead horse. All right. I just think that it's important. I think that it's very important when we think about how we and you want to know why? Because you want to know why? I think that it's important because I think that when I think about this bare minimum generation that we're living in, I think that a lot of this bare minimum mindset was created by us striving for comfort. Oh, I want to get this good job, so therefore I can have some comfort. When in all actuality, if you're constantly trying to improve yourself, are you ever comfortable? The only time, now we can go back to the quote where you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a very real quote, but you're still not comfortable in your comfort. Us not embracing fear, us not, I get it. I think we're saying the same thing. I think we're saying the same thing. I would argue that Jesus, and you guys can tell me otherwise. I'm sure I may be missing it on this, and I have no standing to say what I'm getting ready to say on, other than just my thoughts based on what type of person Jesus was and human nature, whatever. I think Jesus was very fearful of the world becoming a certain type of way, and that's why he felt it was necessary for him to step up. I think that a lot of our courageous leaders are fearful of certain things happening, and that's why they're encouraged and called to move in their purpose, to where the perception of it to us is, oh, you're fearless. A lot of people, you know what, and then you know what ends up happening? I've had people tell me, whereas they say certain stuff, where, hey man, like, yo, you really like doing this. And they say that you like talking about these type of things. And I'm always trying to process things, and maybe I overthink things, but hear me out on this. Hear me out on this, and then I'll move on. When people say, oh, you like doing this, and they're saying that you like doing something that they're scared to do, or don't have the principles, morals, and integrity to do, or the courage to do, what they're really doing is making an excuse and a reason and validation for the reason why it's okay for him to be a man and me not be a man. I don't like talking about a lot of the topics that we talk about. I don't like having to passionately discuss these things and put my livelihood on the line in certain things, whether it may just be a job or whether it may be something more serious. Or what. It's not about a like. Like is not even in the equation. The people that try to put that on somebody is because they are not comfortable confronting their fears. They want to live in comfort. They're comfortable being comfortable. I'm not comfortable being comfortable because I'm a result-oriented type of person. And the only time that we have the people that achieve the highest results are the people that move with a certain level of urgency, a healthy anxiety, healthy stress, right? Just like when we go to the gym, we stress our muscles. Do we want our muscles just comfortable all the time? Or do we want to stress and shock our muscles? So in order to break them down and in order to, y'all get what I'm saying. 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 Lizzie. So Lizzie wrote, all right, we'll finish on this. Lizzie wrote, privilege. Is this an attack on my skin color and gender? Last I checked, I haven't dated for over 6 years. I work for everything and don't depend on a man. I still support men. So what is the issue? I don't know what I said to make that be the takeaway. And maybe this is where sometimes our insecurities tend to emotionally trigger us. Lizzie, just a news flash. We all are living in privilege. Absolutely, you live in privilege. I'm looking at your page, and if you're a white woman, you look pretty in your picture. So you look like a beautiful white woman. Yes, I would say that you have certain privileges that I don't have. I have certain privileges that you don't have. We all are living in privilege. That's the entire point of everything that we're discussing on this show. This is a bare minimum generation because we've all embraced certain aspects of privilege. You as a woman, you don't think that you have certain privilege that men don't have? Like, is this really the conversation where this is going? Everybody has privilege. And if I, as a black man in America, right, black man in America, if I can say that I have so much privilege. I started off this show saying that I was privileged. I am a privileged person, very privileged. But why are we living in a society where I can say I'm privileged, but you can't? And you immediately embrace a victimhood mentality saying, is this an attack on my skin color and gender? This must be your first time on the show. This must be your first time on the show. And I don't want to dive into it too much, but Lizzie, we're all privileged. Look at the world that we live in. Look at what's going on in other parts of the world. We are privileged. I don't know. We're gonna wrap this up. I know we were supposed to look at the Tucker video, huh?
I think what you're trying to say is not necessarily translating.
What am I trying to say?
You have fear, you experience fear, and you push through that fear regardless to get to the other side.
Yes. Like hold on. Listen to what Maya's saying. Hold on. I want you to say this. I want you to say this because I think it's important to hear a woman's perspective on this. So please tell me
I think what you're saying is that you experience fear and you choose to push through that fear regardless of what the outcome might be. And what is coming across, I think, is people just hearing that you're scared or you're fearful and not hearing the part that you move anyway, that you competed in the NFL and you might have a nervousness. It's not even always fear. I think sometimes.
Why are we so scared of the word fear?
I think, the word fear is, I think, what's triggering this conversation. And then as far as privilege, I think you were speaking more from women being privileged to not be able to experience fear.
Okay, so you don't think as a woman that you're privileged?
I do, and I said that in the comment.
Right. So,
I think that.
But why do women not want to?
I think from a feminine perspective, we don't experience fear in the same. Well, I think that as women, we have to be hyper aware of our surroundings all the time.
When you're not with your protector.
Yes.
Who's my protector? When you and I go out, who's protecting me?
Yeah, you're right.
The F and N.
The F and N.
Who's protecting me when we go out?
Well, I might see a situation.
When you go out the house,
I might not be able to physically protect you, but I might scope or see a situation.
Oh, so not get physically involved, but maybe you can call the police or something like that, or see something.
Or maybe
happening.
my intuition might see that something is about to happen before it actually occurs.
I'll give you an example. And Lizzie, it's not nonsense. She's saying she's over the nonsense. I think that this is a perfect example of a lot of how the dynamics between men and women get very confused in conversations. Maya, when you go outside the house in your flip-flops and don't think at all that, oh, I should be wearing sneakers because if I get into a physical altercation, I can handle myself better in sneakers. Do I wear flip-flops when I'm out with my parents and I'm out with y'all? What do I always say?
You don't. But
why don't I wear
preparation?
But why don't I wear flip-flops?
Because you want to be prepared to defend us.
Correct.
You need to.
Correct. So don't you think that it's very hard? It's like I'm trying to explain the concept of something to people that never have to embrace it at the levels that I have to embrace it.
But there's also other men who do not over prepare based off fear. So you personally operate from a specific place.
Say that again, please. Say that there's also men. Say the whole thing.
Who probably do not over prepare in the same way that you do. You were raised in a certain way to over prepare based off of probably your father or your mother's life experiences.
And what was their life experiences that made them prepare that way? It's an F word.
It's an F word?
It's an F word. It's the fear.
That's what I just said. Yeah. Their fear, they instilled that same fear into you. And so you prepare in a way that other people may not prepare. So when people are commenting saying, oh, you shouldn't be fearful every day, all day, but you were raised to be hyper vigilant, essentially.
I was raised to be aware.
Yes.
And fear is one of the biggest telltales of awareness, in my opinion. Fear is a very big. This is how I'm gonna go a different look. I'm gonna go a different place.
Maybe it's just the connotation of fear.
I think it's.
Some people are seeing it as a very negative thing. And
I think this is the problem. If I'm gonna go in a different direction. I think that fathers don't keep it real with their daughters about the concept of fear and Maya just put the mic down because this is something that she does not like to talk about. I think I think that fathers not being honest with their daughters about what men have to embrace, what men have to lean into, I think plays a significant role. Hold on one second. Hey, I'm on my live show. Can I call you back? All right. Is everything okay? And the reason why it's less actually is because you guys have me listed as 3 parking spots instead of 2. I only have 2 parking spots. And you guys are charging me for 3. All right. Sorry about that. This is what I'm trying to say. And BK, you tell me, is there such thing as anybody a fearless man?
Yes.
You think that there's fearless men out here? Matter of fact, let me ask the chat. Give me an example of a man that's fearless. Yeah. Do you think I'm fearless?
Yes.
BK thinks I'm fearless. And for the last 2 hours, I've been telling y'all that I'm fearful. I'm aware of my fears. The people that look fearless are the people that embrace and confront their fear. But in order to embrace and confront something, you have to be aware of it, right?
Yes. You gotta. I think where.
Hold on. Look at what Sulfurix just wrote. This is everyone has fear. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And the reason why I brought up the parents is because fathers have done a job on daughters. And I'm gonna give you an example of why I said what I said earlier with fathers and daughters. There's a lot of women, and I've had conversations with women, and BK, you tell me, I think you and I have spoken about this, to where how women dress. There's a lot of women that feel that they should be able to dress however it is that they want and it not impact the energy that they get in return. Where I'll sit here and say, like, hey, not to say that it's right if something happens to you or if somebody says something disrespectful to you or whatever, if you're dressing like a whore, walking down or going to the club or downtown, whatever it may be. Now, some people will get offended. Well, what do you mean dressed like a whore? What do you mean dressed like a so maybe maybe I already lost you when I just say that. Go to Miami and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, a lot of people will say, well, just because I dress a certain way doesn't mean that something should happen to me. You're absolutely right. But why put yourself in a position? Like, is it worth being able to dress scandalous if you know that you're putting yourself in a position to where something is more likely to happen or you're attracting a certain type of negative attention? Fathers don't teach their daughters this. We have a generation of fathers that do not keep it real with their daughters. They don't keep it real with their daughters about what it takes to be a man. And a lot of times it's because they're not being men themselves in the situation. So how can I explain to you what it takes to be a man? Because all it's going to do is highlight the shortcomings of me being a man in this situation. So therefore, women grow up with a misconception of what actually a man is. A man is 24/7. He's a fear confronter. If I had a title for what a man is, it's a fear confronter. Somebody that's not controlled by fear, but confronts it. There's certain people that I know that are very handy with a weapon. We grow up thinking that cops are fearless, right? So why do they got a gun? People are so fearful of the word fear that they have this unhealthy relationship with it. Everything that we everything that we embrace in this world can be a benefit, can be a negative. But typically, if we have some type of balance with it, then we can give ourselves the best chance or the best, I would say, put us in the best position for that, whatever that thing is that we're discussing, for it not to impact us in a negative way. The people that we look up to that are fearless, and let me give y'all an example. Oh my God. Devon just wrote, single women can do what they want. BK, what you think about that?
Question?
Single women can do what they want, dress how they want.
You're asking me what I think about
Yeah, when men say single women can do whatever they want, based on responding to what he just heard me saying.
Oh, let me get it wrong.
Nah, he ain't. Scary. Let me respond. Vaughn, single women can absolutely do what they want. Just like men can do what they want. Just like people who rob people can do what they want. Just like people who commit, who grape people can do what they want. Everybody has free will. Everybody has free will. But if we're living in a society where we have a group of men that have embraced the mindset of Vons, which is, oh, single women can do whatever they want. This is why women walk around thinking that they can do everything that they want and take no accountability, no responsibility for anything. This is why men and women can't be on the same page, because there's no understanding of what a man's role is, no understanding of what a woman's role is. Oh, she can do whatever she wants. I don't know how we got here. Maybe this is just my mindset. I haven't figured it out. I'm not saying that my way is the only way or the right way. What I'm saying is that this is just my opinion on it. This is just my opinion on it. So Lizzie Lou's telling me that she's been to war. Lizzie Lou, I apologize that you've been to war. I wish there were more courageous men out here to where you don't have to go to war. I wish there was more courageous men out here that would speak against war and would speak against violence so nobody would have to go to war. I apologize that you had to confront that. I'm very sorry that you had to deal with that. This is what people do. Women shouldn't have to fear getting raped. Of course, women shouldn't have to fear. This is what people do whenever I bring up this. Shame on me for even bringing up that example with the women dressing, because what people always do is, well, women shouldn't have to fear getting raped. Yes, you absolutely shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. Just like when I'm driving or walking through the South Bronx or walking through Chicago, I shouldn't have to fear that. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But do you teach based on reality or idealism? Do you not? Maybe some people feel like, I don't know, when people feel like they don't, should nobody, maybe you believe this, and maybe this is something that I'll eventually believe. Do you feel that you shouldn't have a weapon in your house? BK, do you think you shouldn't have a weapon in your house?
I think you should.
You think you should have a weapon in your house?
Yeah.
But why? You shouldn't. What do you have the weapon for?
Just in case something happens.
Just in case something happens?
Yeah, so
But you shouldn't fear something happening.
So you can protect yourself.
But you shouldn't think something's going to happen.
I think there's a fine line between fear and not paying attention to your environment around you.
All right.
You just gotta you gotta understand, like there's
I'm missing something. I think I'm missing something.
Yeah, you're not. You're overlooking.
What am I overlooking? Hold up. Grab the mic. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here. Get involved. Because I think this is an important conversation. And if I'm seeing the world the wrong way, or if I'm missing something, then just help me see it correctly. Just help me see it maybe in a different way. Maybe me seeing it in a different way can benefit me. I fully acknowledge that the way that I see the world is a gift and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not properly balanced, even when properly balanced, it could be a gift and a curse. I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's just nothing, no feeling, no emotion, no perspective it's wrong. Everyone has their own personal angle, experiences, and perspective. So people, when we're coming to debates and conversations, the goal should not be to overturn somebody's opinion. Just the goal should be for somebody to be able to reflect and see another perspective and not have an initiative behind it. So you can have respect for somebody's other opinions and the goal not be to change their opinion. So,
correct.
You know what I mean? So you're not wrong with anything. That I think when we speak about the term fear is it's a definitive word that we have all created our own definition to it. And so when we're talking about the term fear, there are different individuals that look at fear. Some may look at fear as a sign of weakness. Some may look at fear as a tool to navigate through a difficult time. Some may look at fear as something that they completely despise and do everything to either outrun or overcome. And how you speak about fear will ultimately determine how people look at you. So you are speaking in fear in a very thorough manner. You have been in fear, you have gone through fear, and you have utilized fear. And your goal here is to not speak over fear. Your goal here is to not challenge fear as if it's an emotion that just doesn't exist on this planet or it makes you weak. You speak of fear in a very understanding, tolerable, empathetic way. And not all individuals have been through fear in all different components. And so when they hear you speak fear, it's possible that fear to them sounds like a sign of weakness, but that doesn't mean you have weakness in you. And so we have to also understand that we're speaking to people in different places, and depending on where they're at with these terms will determine how they respond to these terms. So I don't think anybody is wrong in how they're speaking, but I think we may be possibly trying to convert someone to see and feel fear in the same ways that the other person is, and we're missing the opportunity that it's clear as day that fear has an impact on all different levels, whether you're male, female, black, white, whether or not you're successful, unsuccessful. There are so many definitions and ways that the definition of fear has, and we have to allow that term to allow that term to be what it is to ourselves, but also take a second to hear and digest what the term may mean to somebody else, so we can continue to move the needle forward, as this word is not as simple, clearly, as we may want it to make it seem. It's not a black and white term. It's a context term. It's a upbringing term. It's a term that will evolve as you grow older. There's just so many ways of fear having a different definition. And so, yeah, that's kind of my look on it.
I didn't want to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I wrote down that you wrote that fear doesn't mean you have weakness in you.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely what it means to me.
Okay.
And that is exactly what I use. If I'm fearful of something, just like my mom was fearful to walk across a bridge, that means that she has a certain weakness in her that she has not overcome.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of times we look at certain people and say that they're fearless,
but you got to remember, it's always always going to come down to perspective. So no one can ever look and say you're wrong.
Let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
If you are fearless, continue being fearless. I don't want to put my fear, I don't want to project my fear on you. If you live fearless and that works for you, and you really have no fears out here, who am I to want to project fear on you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that. But my opinion, not but, and period. My opinion is that
that's it.
A lot of us, it's not it. Because if you just put it as that, do you have fears?
Yes.
Do the majority of people you run into have fears?
Of course.
Okay, so if you just leave it as that, then the people that do have fears will never know how to confront it. Yes or no?
Yes.
So it can't just be that's it. There's multiple categories of people. So for the people that live fearless, you've graduated to a point that I'm not at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking to you. To the people that have become fearless, you've graduated to a point that I'm not at. I hope maybe to be there someday.
Mm-hmm.
I hope maybe to be there someday. However, when I talk to young men, when I sit in a room with unmotivated men, when I sit in a room with people that don't try to excel and fulfill their potential, I see it as a lot of times they're not willing to confront their fears. Is that something that you see as well? Or maybe I'm just projecting on them as well?
Say that one more time so I make sure.
A lot of people limit themselves
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to confront their fears.
Yeah.
So if people are limiting themselves because they don't want to confront their fears, it's easy for us to just sit here and say, be fearless.
Yeah.
You just said that you thought that I was fearless.
You are fearless.
The only way that I show to you that I'm fearless is by confronting my fears, by speaking about the things that you may be fearful of, but I'm still willing to speak on them.
Yes.
I'm still willing to stand on them. So you telling me that you think I'm fearless, I'm the person telling you, BK, actually, I'm very fearful. So don't think that you can't do what I'm doing because you're fearful of it. I'm telling you that no, continue to press forward because I'm fearful as well. And you know what makes me even more fearful is when people want to tell me that I'm fearless and use that as an excuse for why they don't speak on the very same things that I'm willing to speak on and put myself on the line for, because it makes me a target more so than if everybody spoke on these things and confronted their fears. You get what I'm saying?
But you have to remember that you have an initiative that everybody may not have.
100%.
So you of all people are going to have to understand that the pushback that you'll get or the perspective that you'll have, because your initiative or your goalpost is clearly a lot further than others. So when you're getting the responses that may seem very limited, you have to understand they are not responding to you and where your goal is set. They're responding to where they believe you're at. So when you're having this conversation, it stops here with them. It stops with their perspective. I always like that metaphor. If I'm looking at the ground and I see 6 and you're looking at the ground and you see 9, I'm not wrong. You're not wrong. But the goal is for me to walk over to your side and see why you're saying that and vice versa. And then we can get to a common understanding of what our truths may be. And so just even with Lizzie, so here I'm reading, she said, no, I didn't mean fear is weakness. But to some people it is. And so
is it to you?
What?
You said that you're a fearful person, right?
Yes, there are things I have.
So are you a fearful? You're acknowledging you're a fearful person.
Yes, there are things.
Do you think that that's a weakness?
Yes.
So my point is that this is what I'm saying.
But
I think most people,
you're right,
feel exactly how you feel.
You're not wrong.
But what I'm saying is you have 2 people sitting in this room. One says that they are fearful. The same person acknowledging that they're fearful is telling the person, me, that you thought that I was fearless. I'm telling you, heck no, I'm not fearless. I'm just very intentional with leaning into and confronting. I'm not scared to confront fear.
Yes, but when I say I think you're fearless, is my goal to make you believe that you're fearless, or my goal to hear how somebody can say, how I can say, oh man, that's my boy, he's fearless, but then I get your response to what that means to you. Now I have a better understanding of what that's defined to you as.
Correct. Because I don't.
So that's my goal.
Because I'm being honest with you, I think that it's very selfish when people who are fearful look at somebody else. You looking at me, I'm gonna speak directly to you. I think that it's selfish of you to look at me as being fearless, and in your mind you think of, oh, that's why he speaks on these things. That's why he. No, it's a responsibility as a man, in my opinion. I'm just being totally honest with you. You don't think that I'd rather jump on here and talk about like the goofy stuff or have more of like a Joe Budden type of podcast style and talk about that? Of course I would. But if everybody embraces that, if our culture, especially when it comes to Black culture, American culture, it's mixed up and damn near the same thing at this point. But if our culture is leaning towards that, then I think it's a duty, responsibility, and obligation for people to speak on these things. If you're fearful, if you in your mind, just human nature, if you're looking at me and saying like, oh, Dak's fearless, so therefore that's why he speaks on those things, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I think in your mind, you're justifying why you don't have to speak on those things and put yourself in a position where you have to confront your fears because Dak's already doing it. And, oh, he likes doing that. He's fearless. No, it's not that I'm fearless. I just look around the room and I say, hey, if there's something that has to get done and nobody's doing it, then fuck it, I'm gonna be the one to do it.
But what you're saying is the reason of why you think that I believe that you are fearless may not be what I believe what makes you fearless.
So what do you
It's
think?
all it's all about just getting data and seeing where you land. Remember, there's always three people. It's who you are, it's who I think you are, and then it's who you want to be. So from my angle, for the things that I value and that I define as fearless, you may fit that criteria. That doesn't mean that you may hear my list and you may agree that, nah, those things don't necessarily make me fearless. That we have to be okay that it will always be defined by so many different things.
Let me give you, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with a lot of it. And I think we typically, I think all of us agree. I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I think that people, when they look at me and may say certain things that they appreciate my relationship with my parents, for one, right? I think that that's something that a lot of people look at and they like, yo, you always, like, with your parents, like, you always, like, everywhere I go, everything I do, like, I want to bring my parents. That's because that's the only thing that I fear. The only thing that I fear on that level is time, and me not being able to have as much time with my parents as possible. Me one day having to understand that I'm going to be here one day, hopefully, with, like, that's the goal, because I never want to leave here before my parents leave here. That would be so selfish and that would destroy them, I would think. So my fear is that, damn, I have a fear of not spending enough time with them, not having kids, like all these different things. I don't even want to get into it too much, but that fear is what makes me say, you know what? The best way to confront my fear of me missing my parents and one day them not being here is to make sure that I can spend as much time with them as possible, can enjoy as much time with them as possible, all these different things. All of the areas in my life that people will look at me and say that they appreciate and value, those are the things that I only attained or that I'm only leaning into based on confronting my fear. That's it.
But you, oh, go ahead.
Grab the mic.
What you said, Lizzie. One, you have a super chat from Robert. But Lizzie, everything that you just said touches on exactly what Lizzie just said. I don't live fearless. That would be a lie. Fear comes up, I just redirect it to a positive, which is literally what you just said.
That's literally what I'm saying.
So you guys agree.
Yes, we agree.
And yeah.
But
And
you
then
understand my
Robert
point.
also-
I don't
yes.
want people to think that fear is not real, because what happens is we watch superhero
But everyone,
movies.
like BK said, has different connotations of the word fear.
I understand, but what I want, this is just my opinion. When I look around at the world, when I look around at our experience, why do we not look at ourselves as superheroes? BK, the entire weekend that we spent with those Hampton City boys was, why do you not look at yourself as a superhero? When we look at superheroes, we don't think that Batman had fear. We may not think that Spider-Man had fear. We may not think, no, those people were fearful too. So now when we look at these people that are superheroes, we look at them like Simba and Mufasa. Go check out that new Mufasa movie. Like Simba, we think that our parents or these people that we look up to don't have fear. So therefore we think that we can never play the role that they play. Mm-hmm. And in all actuality, if Mufasa, who I think admitted in Lion King that I'm fearful of certain things, you know what I mean? But I have a duty and an obligation. So I just don't want people thinking that, because I'm just talking about from human nature. I may be completely wrong, but I think a lot of times when we grow up, we look at superheroes as if what makes them a superhero, they're so fearless. No, they are fearful. They may not be fearful to the point where they're scared to confront certain things, but they're still fear. Go ahead, my fault.
So I think,
excuse me, sorry, I gotta.
In my opinion, right, as you're talking, I think every single human has fear. To say you never have a moment where fear as an emotion comes up is not realistic. But what makes a person fearless is not allowing fear to control you and moving through that fear. Mm-hmm. So you said, when you were talking before, you said, oh, I get fear, but then I don't get scared, and I don't allow this, or I don't get scared, and then
I'm not scared to confront my fears.
Yeah, so that's fear. Replace scared with fear.
Yeah, I'm not fearful to the point where I'm not going to confront it.
Which in turn makes you come across fearless, because you still confront everything.
Correct.
Regardless if it brings up fear for you or not. But a lot of people do not do that. A lot of people feel fear and move in the other direction.
Correct.
So a fearless person is somebody that does what you do.
Correct. But what I'm saying is that if anybody's out here, it's like a scammer Instagram influencer. putting out some shit like, oh, I started my business and now I'm $100 million and it was easy. All I did was just do this. It's like Ozempic. Oh, all you just do, take this pill. No, those people projecting that message are trying to sell you something. Everybody's fearful. Everybody has to go through overcoming these fears. And it's a level thing. When you overcome one level of fear, it almost puts you in a more dangerous situation. When you're a boxer, right? You're a boxer. You start off boxing. The people that you fight early on, they may be some easy fights, right? Every time you win and overcome the fear of that maybe opponent that you have, now you're setting yourself up to put yourself at more risk, in more harm's way. But you got to overcome that, and you overcome that, and it becomes more fearful. But in your mind, what you're also developing as you can confront the fear is the confidence that even if I'm fearful of something, I know that I will still figure this out and pull out successful in the end, or learn a lesson in the areas that I need to improve on in order to conquer that next level.
What you just described is a fearless mindset.
But it's by definition, it's not fearless.
Maybe not.
You got to hold the mic.
Okay. You also have a super chat.
All right. So Robert gave a great example, actually, this super chat. So Robert wrote, the Zionists are so fearful of persecution that it leads them to bad actions and gets them persecuted over and over throughout history. I agree with you 100%. I've talked about this a lot, where I think Jewish people, Zionists, Israelis, they live in a lot of fear. When I go to Jewish events and they're mazel toving and celebrating, a lot of times they'll be at a celebration where we were at a brisk where the toast or the cheers was, they tried to kill us and we're still here. That's operating in a mindset of fear. I totally agree with you. But like I said, there's balance. That same level of balance, or that same fear, has worked in a lot of successful ways when it comes to Jewish people. They unite, they have unity. They have a lot of things that are positive that come from that fear and overcoming that fear. However, there's also a lot of negative things that come from it, where you put in your mindset that you're a victim and that you can commit a genocide against a group of people. So what I'm saying is there has to be a balance, that we have to check those fears, be more. I'm glad that you brought this up as an example. I do believe that Israel is a very fearless a fearful population. I do believe that when you constantly propagandize people with an unhealthy amount of fear, that it can lead to certain things. But it's almost like a weapon, right? A gun. A gun can either be used to save a life, or it can be used to commit a Charlie Kirk. It doesn't make it good or bad. There has to be some balance of understanding. This may just be for a form of protection. This may be for a form of hunting. However, when you have powerful things, they can also be used in a negative way. We have influential people that gain a lot of power. That power can be used in a positive way, or it can be used in a negative way. The balance is what I think we need to strive for. But when we totally disregard fear, then we're never going to be able to have a healthy balance with it when it comes to confronting it. That's just my opinion. But I get what you're saying. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying. And you hold on, and you wrote it, Lizzie Lou. We agree. We agree. I don't live fearless. That would be a lie. Fear comes up, I just redirect it to a positive. 100%. That's all I do. And Lizzie Lou, you know what I think a lot of people can learn from? You sharing how you redirect it into a positive. Because I may say that's you confronting your fear. You may say, oh no, that's just me redirecting it. I would love for you to teach people and to express that, hey, everybody lives with fear. Nobody's fearless out here. But when it comes up, this is how I deal with it. That's the message that I want to give to people, rather than just me sitting up here saying, I don't fear nothing. Like, I don't want to be around people who don't fear anything. There's a lot of people that move through this world with embracing more of that mindset. And what's funny is, a lot of times those are the most dangerous people there are. Right, BK? Thinking about some of the situations that we were talking about over the weekend. These fearless people, when people do dumb stuff to the point where, like, you weren't fearful of what could potentially happen in this situation to the point where you were comfortable doing this. And now you not only put yourself, but you put other people in a dangerous situation because you're not thinking of the fear. So I think this was dope. This was dope. And once again, shout out to Robert. Shout out to everybody that contributed with a super chat. Shout out to everybody that contributed with your energy, with your comments, with your viewership. Shout out to everybody that shared the video. I really appreciate y'all. So once again, I would love to. I'm constantly battling. And if you look at the interview that Maya just did with me, my entire life, I've been constantly battling with fear. It's been a constant battle. It's helped me in certain ways. It's hindered me in certain ways. I have to figure out the right balance. I have to do these things. And for me, this is just for me. I just want to make sure that I'm having an honest relationship with fear and an honest expression of how I deal with fear. I know that we may see things differently. I agree 100% with what Robert said, is that fear and insecurity is exactly what can make a group of people justify in their minds committing a genocide against another group of people in order to protect them and theirs. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. There has to be a certain level of balance. And one thing that I'll finish up with saying is that somebody asked earlier whether fear was man-made or God. I think, Lizzie, you may have mentioned this. Isn't that common in religion to where I see a lot of tattoos out here? I don't know if that's scripture, but I do see a lot of tattoos of only fear God, right? Or I only fear God in a lot of religions. So I don't know who created the fear, but perhaps I'm assuming that when it comes to a religious standpoint, when people say that they only fear God, I'm assuming that that fear helps them move in a more intentional, positive, purposeful way. When you say that you only fear God. Now, I've had me personally, I go back and forth on whether or not we should fear God or fear this or fear that. But maybe that's, the back and forth within my own head. And maybe that's an example of tomorrow I may wake up and align more with a different view, huh? Oh, you taking the car back? All right, thank you. It has to be on a half a tank of gas. All right. Don't give them don't give them a gallon over, an ounce over. So when it comes to that, and I'm open to it. I'm open to it because I'm honest. Like, if I'm being honest, fear has hindered me in a certain way. Fear has caused me to not enjoy life in a certain way. And even to the example that I gave with my parents, this is another reason why I can be unhealthy, because I believe in manifesting and I believe in energy. So if I'm fearful and seeing things in a mindset of, oh, I'm fearful that my parents aren't going to be here, I'm fearful of this, then that's a very terrible energy that I'm putting out. So I do agree with y'all. And I'm going to make sure that I process this, make sure that I build on the conversation that we're having. And you have moved me. Lizzie, you've moved me. Robert, you moved me. A lot of y'all have moved me and have gotten me to think about these things, because ultimately, like, I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I really just want things to be better. I want us to feel more courageous and standing on our purpose and being more courageous when it comes to addressing our principles, morals, and values. That's it. So if, however we need to embrace it, Lizzie, you share how you deal with it. And a lot of times when we're so passionate about something, we could probably benefit from hearing somebody else's perspective. So, Lizzie, thank you. Thank you for not leaving the conversation. Thank you for not being over it. Because even though, and I think this is something that I always try to work on, is making sure that my passion for something doesn't come across as a stubbornness. So BK said earlier, he said, people can just think however they think. And, you don't need to convince somebody else of the way you think. I'm actually appreciative of the opposite. I'm appreciative that Lizzie did try to convince me of her view. I'm appreciative that Robert did try to convince me of his point of view. I think that when people genuinely want to help other people, then that's what they'll do. The problem is we've become so accustomed, and I've done this as well, where we can become stubborn to the point where it's like not worth trying to convince this person to see things differently. But I think we should always go through life trying to convince people and challenge people to see things in a positive way. One person's not going to have all the answers, but one person may have an answer all of us are going to have the answer at some point in time. So I'm very appreciative of all y'all. I'm soaking up everything that was said. I want to make sure that I'm embracing less fear, especially me sitting here saying that I've dealt with it my whole life, and it has caused some, I'm sure it's been unhealthy levels of anxiety in a lot of ways, unhealthy levels of stress, where I'm not maybe the most kind person to be around at different times. So I have to address those things internally, and I will. And I wouldn't have addressed them if y'all weren't gracious enough to share your opinion and try to convince me to see things from a different perspective. So I'm going to work on those things. And I hope that we can get to a point where we get to a more fearless society, where we can, and a lot of times it's like we think that we can't have one without the other. We think that, unless you're fearful of getting fat, then you can't be in shape. Maybe we can, maybe I'm being a bit short-sighted and narrow-minded when it comes to that. And maybe we can get in shape without having the fear of what happens when we're not in shape. And maybe that's what can free us in a lot of ways, where we're just getting in shape because it's fun, or we're playing sports, enjoying life, where it's not as much of a burden to where I feel like, I got to run these miles. Because I'll be honest with y'all, every time I go for a run, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, like, even before I go for the run, to convince myself to run a couple miles is like, what if you get in a position where, something goes left and you need to carry your mom, you need to carry this, you need to carry that. And in my mind, it is projecting a lot of fear. And, maybe it could just be like, I just want to see, the potential of my body, how far I can take it, how in shape I can get, just to challenge myself more so from a friendly mindset. I've just struggled with figuring out ways to create urgency with things that I don't use fear to motivate me with. And maybe that's a shortcoming of my own. Maybe that's growing up playing football, or I don't even want to blame it on anything. No. Let me not do that. Maybe it's just a shortcoming of mine. So I'm going to continue striving to become more fearless. Lizzie, thank you. Robert, thank you. And everybody else who contributed, thank you. And I'm still, let me be very clear, I'm just striving for balance. And I do think, and I hope the conversation doesn't go unnoticed with a lot of the things that we discuss when it comes to male leadership. I stand on that. I stand on it. I was going to say I stand on it 100%, but I don't stand on anything 100%, because I always have to have a certain opening to where I may be wrong and I may be able to see things differently. But when I look around at society, I think we need more people. We need to teach more people how to confront their fear, because when I look around, I see more people running away from their fear rather than confronting it. And maybe that's just because they don't have the tools to properly confront it. They don't have the support system to confront it. They don't have the guidance, the mentorship. Life can be scary. Life can be scary if we allow it to be. So I'm thankful. I'm grateful. Now for the most important part of our show. And hold on, let me, Antonice wrote, can I do a panel with you? Sis, you know that you can jump on at any point. And I realized that even me saying that, when I tell y'all, y'all can jump on at any point, I'm not being specific. And I learned this when I talked to a lot of the kids, or I'm reminded of it when I talk to a lot of the kids over the past week, where they say they want to do certain things, but they don't put a date on it. So this is what we'll do. Why don't we open it up maybe on Fridays for the Friday show? I don't know if this Friday will work, but at least having maybe where we do Fridays where it can open it up to a panel, maybe not even all of the show, so people aren't intimidated by it, but maybe creating more of an open panel where people can, you know, come. I would say you can come and go as you please, but that's not going to work. But maybe if people can designate, you know, at least an hour to jump on, contribute, or if you don't want to do the entire discussion, maybe there's just 10 minutes that you want to spend discussing or presenting, I would absolutely appreciate that. So definitely, because I want to learn, and I think that the best way for us to learn is to get as many perspectives on here as possible, because I do not have saying that I don't have all the answers would be a very ignorant, egotistical way of saying it, because I'm implying that I have any answers. I don't know what I have. I don't know if I have any answers or not. But I love to discuss and build and figure out how we can provide some solutions to society as we be the change that we want to see in the rest of the world. So let me make sure that I didn't see. Oh wait, Steve, Big Bro Steve wrote, creating the personal wherewithal to self-analyze why we fear something, then developing the skills to confront the fear and redirect it towards overcoming the fear is a life hack. I think that's where we'll leave it. My dad, I know, is watching this show somewhere saying, Steve did it again. Steve always comes. That's like it's not a running joke. It's actually a running fact that Big Bro Steve always comes through with a very balanced and intentional mindset. It can be easy to be one, either balanced or intentional, but I think it's a very unique skill that comes with life's experience to be both balanced and direct and intentional. So let's do this. So Antonice, let's jump on Friday. Friday, we're opening it up, and I have to extend it. To be totally honest, we were supposed to do it with Steve, and this is what I'll do. I'll make sure that I reach out to y'all after the show. Obviously, we can't discuss it right here, but anybody that wants to jump in and tap in, please just email me at dak@ohgi.com. So let me put that in the chat, and you can jump on, yo. As long as we have respectful conversations, you know, and even if it gets hot during certain times where we're reminded and respectful of when somebody reminds us that we got to tone it down a little bit, that's what we need. That's what we need, and that perhaps is the best way for us to lead the next generation, by showing them that we can have discussions about very emotionally triggering things without being emotionally triggered. So shoot me an email. Anybody that wants to jump on. Once again, it's dak@og.com. I'm not putting it on the screen because I'd rather leave what Steve wrote on the screen. So therefore, let's get into the most important part of our show. I'm going to mute this very quickly as I blow my nose, and then we got the most important part of the show. I was muted. Let me very quickly, and make sure that y'all like and subscribe. So what I was saying is, you know what ends up happening? And I said, after I said, I'm going to blow my nose and mute it, and then not mute it back. Yeah. Just so y'all know, my mind is going 100 miles per hour. Maya, I'm sure, is calling. You're muted. I know, I'm off mute, baby. Catch up. I'm off mute, baby. Catch up. You heard? But what I was saying is, it's funny how, a lot of times, and I may be repeating myself because now I'm forgetting what part was muted, but I see a lot of my shortcomings, and what was I saying? I actually forget what I was saying. Oh, this is what I was saying. You know what it is in a lot of ways? Remember how we grew up in school and we were learning how to write opinion papers, and you never grew up writing, in my opinion, I believe, or I think. You used to get in trouble for writing that on your papers. And when I now communicate, I realize, like, no, that's how you have to communicate, which is, hey, in my opinion, or in my limited and biased perspective, in my limited scope, this is how I'm seeing it. This may not be everything's the opposite. And maybe that's a good example of the pendulum swing. Maybe that was, maybe they were convincing us to write in those terms because when people write weak, or I don't know, but all of this is just opinion based. This is all just, I need to start off the show and remind myself. Matter of fact, I need y'all to write whenever I'm like going off and coming across a bit maybe too passionate. Need y'all to write, in my opinion, in the chat. Maybe from now on, moving forward. Like, remember, like, my fault. The most important part of the show, where we do our manifestations. So let's do 60 seconds today. I think I need the 60, not the 45. 60 seconds today where we're just clearing our mind, all right? We're doing our breath work. We're meditating. We're manifesting. Please, and for the people that are writing this part of the show off, I'm telling you, this is the most important thing, especially when we're talking about a lot of deep conversations and a lot of heavy things that can be emotionally triggering. 60 seconds, every exhale, we're releasing all the negative energy, or the limiting energy, I should say, as well, that puts something in our mind that doesn't give us the confidence necessary, or puts us in a limit mindset, putting a ceiling over our heads, or just is a negative thought, a negative feeling. Us having anything other than a positive, optimistic outlook, an empowering outlook, that we're so thankful that a lot of life and what's created with our lives is just based on our decisions, our mindset, and it's all on us. And we can embrace that because that's a beautiful place to be in. That's something that we were given, free will through God. So let's make sure that we take advantage of it. So 60 seconds. If you're in a safe place, please close your eyes, or do whatever you feel is best. But I'm going to be closing my eyes. Once again, every exhale, releasing the negative energy, the limiting energy. Every inhale, we're inhaling positive. So at the end of our 60 seconds, we're just recirculating all those positive thoughts. Unc said, deep breath, positive inhales, exhale the negativity, forget those problems that are unsolvable for the moment. Solve what you can within the minute. I like that, Unc. Let me read that again. Deep breaths, positive inhales, exhale the negativity, forget those problems that are unsolvable for the moment. Solve what you can within a minute. Control the controllables, all right? Keep the main thing the main thing. And Silverix, when we come back, if there's something I didn't understand, we'll do our 60 seconds, but definitely let me know what you don't understand if I can provide some clarity. All right, 60 seconds starting now. Oh, shoot. Went above time. My fault. One last breath. One last inhale. Well, not one last inhale. An inhale. And then our last exhale, we're releasing we're releasing the last bit of negative energy that we have. So inhale, exhale, releasing that last bit. Now we're just circulating positive. Oh, man. Y'all know what we come here to do. Elevate on purpose. That's a big P purpose. Elevating on purpose, challenging ourselves to become the best leaders we can become in our communities, our villages, our tribes, our family, within humanity, the impact that we're going to have on this world. Being very intentional with it. Also challenging ourselves, setting higher standards for us to grow into the people that we need to grow into, for us to push ourselves to learn more, to develop more. All these different things that are going to give us the confidence, tools, and skills needed to continue striving to fulfill our potential. Y'all know we say onward and upward, strength and honor. Let's get to the bag. For those that don't know what I mean when I say get to the bag, those are the KPIs, the little things, not just about money. Sometimes it's not at all about money. Sometimes it is about money, but it's all the little things, and I say that with air quotes, the little things that ultimately amount to the big things, the little things throughout the hour, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, that are ultimately going to accumulate into what our personal legend is going to be. That's what we like to call it, the impact that we're going to have on this world. So the things that I like to focus on that provide me some navigation and maybe some guide or some guide rails, or you would call them, are peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. And perhaps now more than ever, and on this show, it's been demonstrated more than ever, is balance. So balance. So HCB Chemistry wrote, shout out to you because you had something earlier that you wrote that I liked. OG, you should go watch Dan Pena. I think I've heard of him. It will help you. Seriously, I'm being serious. No, bro. I'll tap in. And if you commit to being on the show Friday, maybe you could share me a link. Why don't you share me a link? Send me an email to dac@ohgi.com if you can, if it's okay. And I'll make sure that I tap in with that link and maybe share my thoughts from it on Friday if you tap in on Friday. So definitely appreciate that. Big Bro wrote, this type of interaction and dialogue is what we all need. I so appreciate this forum and what it means to me. Let's represent the change we know will make the world its best. Blessings to all. All right. Unc wrote, enjoy your 40-hour week. Cat Gill wrote the fire emoji. Thank y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all know what it is. And let's continue to be the change that we want to see in the rest of the world. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Like, subscribe on your way out, and maybe share with a friend. Have a conversation about it. And I'll reach out to people specifically, or if anybody wants to jump in on Friday, shoot me an email, dac@og.com. But I'll definitely reach out to the few people that I've spoken to, in particular my big bro Steve, about how Steve can share some of his knowledge and wisdom with all of us. I can't be selfish and keep Steve all to myself. So or Antonice. So big sis, you said that you were always fearful of jumping on. You're about to overcome one of those fears. And as we both work towards becoming fearless. So HCB Chemistry wrote, hey, bro, I'm a supporter of you and believe in you, G. I'm serious. You're not fearful. What you're describing is overcoming fear in the face of danger. That's different. I love it. We rocking with it. I'm pushing towards it. Hey, I'm willing to embrace. Hey, I'm willing to try anything. If it comes from a place that I think, if it's coming from a good place, if somebody that is giving it to me with good intent and I think has a good heart, I'm willing to try it. So my mindset was one thing going into it. I'm going to try to see how this mindset works, and who knows, we'll build from there. So he wrote, I'll be in touch. I'll email and all that. Antonice, Unc, Steve, I love y'all and appreciate everybody. I'll see y'all soon.